imparting strength, positivity, encouragement, and motivation. Welcome to the Weekend Rush by UAP Singapore with your hosts, Architect Dorothy and Architect Maan.
Hello everyone! Welcome to another event of UAP Singapore. Hi Maan!
Hi, Architect Dorothy. We have our live stream once again. So right now we have our theme, UAPS Thrives Beyond Singapore.
Wow,
So we have 4 guests for today.
Yes.
So ito ay kwentuhan lang, kamustahan, ganon. So it's very informal. Ano lang talaga, we will ask questions from our guests. Tapos they will just tell us more about their life here in Singapore and kung nasaan na sila ngayon.
Yes.
Architect Dorothy, how are you?
Yeah, so I'm here now in Jakarta. So I've been part of UAP Singapore since 2015. 2015, yes, since I moved. So it's very happy that finally again I've been part of the event and naging host ulit. Parang ano lang, parang déjà vu. So for all yes, and all the audiences, welcome again to another event. So, okay, so without further ado, so let's start our event. So let's start for the introduction of our guest. So first guest, he's our UAPSG past president, father of 2 kids, and of course, all known that he's my automatic co-host for UAP events since 2015 when we're still active on the organization. So, first guest, let's welcome Architect John Marvin Ngo. Okay. Hi, Sir GM.
Hello everyone.
Hi, sir. So, how are you, sir?
Okay naman. I'm now working here in UK. I'm based in Northwich in Cheshire, but my work's in Liverpool.
Wow.
Yeah, so I'm working in an architectural firm called Ryder Architecture. I'm employed as a senior designer, and I'm still continuing doing on healthcare developments, which I've started in Singapore way back in 2013. So that's kind of my specialty that I was doing here.
So good. At least you still continue as a design from Singapore until there.
Yes. So I was able to leverage specifically on my experience and whatever knowledge and training I've gathered in Singapore, and that's basically what they are taking me on from.
Okay. By the way, Architect John, what time is that? There in
now it's 8:04 in the morning here.
Wow. Good morning to you. Sorry, we're
good evening sa Australia. Good afternoon sa Singapore, and good morning here in UK.
Okay. Thank you so much, Architect JM. Okay. For our next guest.
Our next guest is a UAPSG active member, a mother, and now she's spearheading the UAP Australia chapter. So let us all welcome Architect Hazel.
Hi everyone. Hi.
Good afternoon. Good evening.
It's already evening here, 7 p.m. in Australia, in Canberra, Australia. So good afternoon, good afternoon, Singapore. Good morning, UK, and good evening, Australia.
Yes, di ba? International talaga ang UAP Singapore.
Oo, ganun. Marami tayong ngayon, international. So we have 2 more guests who will join us later on, di ba?
Yes,
so medyo nagkakaroon lang tayo ng delay ngayon kasi nga international tayo. So please bear with us. Medyo nagkakaanuhan kami. Nagkaka-delay or nag-overlap. Ayun.
Yes. May tayong 2 guests from the Philippines, but of course now may typhoon sa Philippines, so medyo they're still connecting. So let's wait for them, or we still continue for this one. Okay, so maybe can we start our session for today? Okay, so can we, from Architect Maan?
Okay, so first question po namin is, Tell us about your background, yung SG life nyo dito, yung work experience, and how Singapore became your playground as an architect.
Okay, maybe from the girl first, Architect Hazel.
Okay. So I was in Singapore for almost 9 years. First, I joined DP Architects for 4.5 years as senior architecture executive, and I was involved mainly in institutional projects as national NUS and Singapore Poly. And after working on those two projects, I moved to IDAS. So 4.5 years din ako sa ADAS, also having a senior role in ano nga bang role ko doon? Senior.
Sobrang dami na bang roles?
And yung involvement ko naman doon yung sa rail team. So
Okay.
so in Singapore, I was there for, as I mentioned, almost 9 years. Pero na-involved lang ako sa 4 projects. So explaining that that's how diversified and that's the how large scale the projects in Singapore are. Kasi
Okay, so
natapos ko siya from so I started from concept pa lang, nagbibid pa lang yung company until construction stage. So when we moved here, parang masyadong fast-paced yung projects because it's smaller scale, and then parang presenting your portfolio, they're actually surprised na, oh, you've done projects as big as this. You might be bored, parang ganun. Baka ma-bored ka sa mga gagawin projects dito. So,
yes.
yun yung parang feeling kong playground. Naging playground yung Singapore in terms of experience din kasi you are involved in the at at the concept stage until construction. So lahat ng design stages yung involvement mo, and you mature sa project actually yung mature yung nag-mature yung experience mo, and of course the way you um parang the way you parang makipag-communicate from staff lang, and then nasa client side ka na, other consultants. So, yun.
So parang nagkaroon ka ng talagang experience on how to do parang both sides.
Sa design and construction.
Oo.
And yun nga, parang large scale actually yung mga projects na nagawa sa Singapore compared sa nandito, medyo smaller scale siya but very fast-paced.
Oh,
Yes,
okay,
because sa
okay.
Singapore talagang rush tayo lagi, di ba? Laging rush. How about naman yung personal mo, ma'am? So for Architect Hazel, for example, how do you describe your life in Singapore? Like you have a family, right? So how do you can you share to us your background?
So, for the
Like
longest time, single ako dyan.
so you met your husband in Singapore. Good.
Husband ko sa DP, office mate ko siya.
Mm.
Pero hindi siya yung boyfriend ko dati. So, ibang story ko. Love story ko.
May ganon.
So, parang yung buhay sa Singapore, parang mostly trabaho eh. For me But you have yung weekends para sa singitan ng activities, and yung masyadong okay yung transportation sa Singapore, so marami ka ring magagawa. Kahit na umuwi ka ng late, ganyan. So,
Yes.
ganun yun yung buhay, parang puro kaibigan, dati, shopping, pagsweldo, shopping, IT show, yung
Yeah.
normal na buhay sa Singapore, gadgets, parang ganun tumatakbo parang
Right.
ganun ko na nako-compare ngayon yung buhay namin dito na sa Singapore, parang after sweldo, marami ka na makikitang sale, kasi sa MRT station, mall na, parang ganun,
Tama.
puro kain sa labas. Hindi mo maiisip magluto kasi murang kumain sa labas, kahit di ka magbaon ng food mo everyday. Parang gano'n, yung normal na, typical na buhay ng empleyado. Parang puro
Ng 8 to
trabaho.
5.
Hindi lang 8 to 5. 8 to 5
As
ba?
8 to 8 to until the end. Okay, so at least so next naman architect John, how do you describe your life since you're in Singapore?
Okay. I came to Singapore in 2008 as a student. At that time in 2008, the pool was it's either you go to Singapore or Middle East, but mostly many of my colleagues were migrating to Middle East. So when I got that offer to study sa NUS in 2008, it was a big jump. And then from there, so I studied for a year. And then after I finished in 2009, there was this big economic crisis globally that was happening. So there was for a brief time I ended up having to go back to Philippines because I can't find a job in 2009. It was so bad in Singapore. Pero after a few months, my first job in Singapore was in landscape design. If some of you are familiar with the tree house condominium in the western part of Singapore, that was my baby. And I was working with Cohen Design. So we were the landscape design architects for that. And at that time, I'm not sure if until now, it has the tallest green wall building in Singapore at that time. I'm not sure kung hanggang ngayon. And then eventually, I transferred to Ascendas, which is now part of Capitaland Group. So that is a client role. So from landscape design architecture for half a year, nag-transfer ako sa design management from client side. And the portfolios that I was involved with, suddenly biglang life-turning, talagang biglang big scale. We were doing projects in China, India, Southeast Asia, ranging from business parks, office buildings, some residential buildings in China, and even novel types of buildings like film studio, soundstage in Singapore, One North. Yeah, and then in 2013, I got recruited to join healthcare industry, also from the client side. Marami kong agam-agam at that time kasi from outside, I thought of healthcare design as pretty much boring kasi parang you can't be so flashy in their designs. But when I transferred to them, kasi they were looking for someone who can help to tie the remodeling master plan and help manage some of their capital works. So I was involved initially with the integrated building, which is now operational. It is an extension of the Changi General Hospital. And then eventually, I stayed in that hospital for 3 years before moving to B+H Architects, going back to consultancy in 2016 after 8 years hiatus as a healthcare planner. So I've worn many hats to Singapore. And then on the personal side, so from being a student, I settled down in 2011. And then sa Singapore ako nagkapamilya. And
Same as ma'am.
Ano yan?
Same as Ma'am Hazel. So you build your family in Singapore. Yes.
Yes.
Yes, and then nung 2013, we welcome Matthew. So, ang masasabi ko sa Singapore at that time, being nasa transition stage of your life from being a single to settling down, ang maganda kasi sa Singapore being a smaller society is it functions like one family. There's always a connection from the government to its citizens. You always look at the Prime Minister as like a big father figure. You always look at the government. They always preaches how you should conduct your life and how to be always an upright individual. So, na-ingrained sa akin yun. I became a permanent resident in 2010 Singapore. So, I really followed into that Singapore mindset na, you have to be best in your academic, you have to be best in your career, you have to be physically healthy, you have to allow time for your family. and the world is your oyster. So, yun yung napulot ko talaga sa Singapore. Yung talaga, you have to be excellent in everything you do. You don't have to be scared even though you came from a small dot somewhere in the Pacific or in Southeast Asia rather, that you can compete with the rest of the world.
Yes. Yes. Being in Singapore, if you started in Singapore, it's really, you can go anywhere, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Because you will meet other people all over the world. and the characteristics of the workers, of all your office mates are really,
And at that time,
Diversified.
we have to remember na in 2010, 2009, their mantra, Singapore's mantra is, it is a great place to live, work, and play. So it was a very welcoming place wherein all the best minds, all the best talents in the world were invited to come to Singapore, settle down, live, work, and play, and compete within Singapore. So ikaw bilang Pilipino, suddenly, you're competing with Australian, with Dutch, with Indonesian, with Malaysian. So yung level of competition of drives up your competence.
yes.
Alam mo yun, yung the correlation between competition and competence, that's healthy competition. So yun yung masasabi mo sa Singapore eh.
Yes.
So
Competition to survive.
Yes.
Okay,
Okay.
good. So, we're checking architect Noni. Oh, still.
Later na lang siya.
Okay.
Medyo
Okay, so
nagkakaroon
thank you for
ng
sharing
problema sa
your
connection.
life in Singapore. So, next, what made you decide? So now we heard you about 10, 11 years in Singapore, getting married, getting a good job. Of course, the salary is there, the environment, first world country. But what made you decide to go beyond Singapore? Like, what are the factors or the reasons, considerations, including your family? Of course, we all know that you have one kid when you're out from Singapore, from Architect John. Then from Architect Hazel, I think you born your baby in Singapore or in Canberra now? In Singapore. Okay, so give us what are the considerations that you consider or the factors that you go beyond our Singapore life. Okay, so can we have Architect Hazel again for this one?
So I think for personally, I I wouldn't consider moving to Australia if not by the simple reason of raising my family and stability. Kasi when we were in Singapore, we weren't even permanent residents. We were just holding employment pass. And for a time, when the company renewed the pass, it was actually I can say downgraded to S pass. So having said that, there was a time na dalawa kaming mag-asawa na sabay kami na halos-halos magkasabay na nirenew kami ng pass, and both of us got only S pass, and we didn't know that um if dalawa kayo na S pass holders, you can't have the helper. It's either
Mm.
it should be one e-pass or one PR, and then they would consider yung partner mo is S-pass. But for us, dalawa kami naging S-pass. So doon na kami nag-struggle. Parang from time to time, we have to send family members to look after our daughter. Um, Back then, she was only few months, and then we have to send her to the Philippines, and I have to travel monthly to the Philippines just to see her and be with her, and then Dan joins me parang every other month because we couldn't afford na dalawa kami to go back to the Philippines monthly to just see our daughter. So that's the struggle. And then we actually applied for PR in Singapore, and it's not a surprise, it was rejected. And then second application, hindi na kami nagpunta. Hindi na kami nagpunta sa ano sa
I
and
see.
it was not an MOM, what was it? Parang
ICA.
ICA. Hindi na kami sumipot sa schedule. Pero going back, kung ano yung mga factors and reasons ba't kami nagpunta ng dito sa Australia. Of course, yung community namin ng Filipino architects din diyan, mga friends ganyan, who are also raising up their families. Parang they have to send their children back home kasi they don't have slots sa school. So that's one of our parang concerns that time, parang paano na 'pag lumaki na yung anak namin baka gano'n din. Tapos is yung healthcare, um, parang instead of, 'di ba sa Singapore you have to pay kung ano yung magagastos mo sa healthcare or magkuha ka ng sarili mong health insurance. But that wouldn't be enough, of course, if you are not citizen. And yun nga, there's no stability kasi once na nawala ka sa employment, you just have to stay there for a month and then yun nga, uwi ka na sa Pilipinas. So yun yung mga major concerns namin. Pero when we were planning of migrating, we weren't thinking of Australia at first. Actually, hindi single pa ako noon. I was applying for to go to New Zealand. So I was assessed. I went to assessment for New Zealand and my application was there. And then during my consultation with the migration agent, he actually informed me that if you are a permanent resident in New Zealand, you're not a permanent resident in Australia. But if you are in Australia, it's automatic that you'll be a PR in New Zealand. So sabi ko na lang, para, sige, change na lang yan sa sa Australia. Change plan. So para pag hindi nag-work sa Australia, hindi ako naging successful doon. Meron pa ako isang bansa na pupuntahan. And aside from that, one of my options was to go to US where most of my family members are. But of course, yung pathway is not through permanent residency. Whereas dito sa Australia, when we moved here, we got the permanent resident visa. So yun yung story behind that.
So talagang for all, I think most of our guests will say it's the family. And of course, like as what you've said about the education, health. So, okay.
Oh, yun
So,
talaga yung mga factors. Okay.
Yeah, but I think because if Singapore, I think once you also live there, so very expensive, no, sobrang mahal. So hindi mo talaga kayang, I mean, as what you've said, talagang if S-pass ka or E-pass ka, kahit, di ba, every year, every 2 years, tumataas yung quota nila for the salary or something like that. So it's really hard, but good for you, Architect Hazel, that you,
Yeah,
I mean,
thank
you go beyond Singapore and you're now in Canberra. Okay. So how about, can we heard about, for you, Architect JM?
Okay.
Why you decided to move on?
For us, it was a bit different. Yung mentality ko again, nung time yan, especially nung nasa Changi General Hospital ako, to be honest, mentality ko nun is I'm already a Singaporean. Kasi I'm the only Filipino sa department, sa buong division. So talaga ang thinking ko is, alam mo yun, I'm as good as them, I'm one of them. So, and PR ako noon at that time. And then yung wife ko naman, throughout her entire career sa Singapore, E-pass naman siya. So in a way, we are fortunate on that sense.
Yes.
Then, yung naging concern din namin is, you know, when you receive your PR, invitation for PR, may nakalagay doon na should you have a male son, that male son of yours, when they reach a certain age, they have to serve military. Pero sa akin, at that time, I look at it very positively. So, anong nangyari? Noong 2013, pinanganak si Matthew. Noong 2015, pinanganak si Marcos. Both are, lalaki. They're both male. And I applied them both to be PR. I'm all okay for the military service and everything. Pero they got rejected. So, ang question ko nun is, my wife applied for PR twice. I applied my sons for PR, and they all got rejected. So, the same concern na sinasabi ni Architect Hazel about, you can't really plan beyond 1 or 2 years' time. Kasi that's how long yung pass na binibigay, 2 or 3 years.
Hmm.
How can you even plan beyond that? And starting a family requires you to plan more than 10 years. Noong 2015, we were almost in the process around Chinese New Year of buying a condominium in Singapore. Pero parang as in dadalhin na magbibigay na lang kami ng pera and everything kasi PR nga ako. Pero yun nga yung bring out up sa akin ng wife ko. Sabi niya, what if bilhin natin yan and then eventually hindi na kami ma-renew, we have to leave the country, what will happen to the property? Ganyan. So, ano yun. And then, noong 2016, I mean, I'm sorry for saying this, pero kasi there was a general shift sa perception or sa mood ng mga tao, especially government policy sa Singapore. Remember when I said that in 2010, ang mantra nila is, it was a great place to live, work, and play, open for everyone. After the election in 2011 or 2012, nagbago yun. And slowly, there's a feeling of xenophobia creeping in. Kaya, nagkaroon ng mga changes sa policies on granting visas, passes. So, noong 2016, yung wife ko, she's working with Barclays Bank. Maganda yung type of work nila. They had to, as a company, they had to shift some of this sensitive work elsewhere. Kasi nga, they're finding it hard to retain the right talents in Singapore. So, noong 2017, yung Barclays Bank, they had to relocate yung operations, particularly sa financial crime, where my wife was involved with, back to UK. So because of that rationalization, my wife was offered either we'll give you a big chunk of money, goodbye, or you try to move sa UK. So in December 2016, it was really a roller coaster event for us as a couple. Kasi nga, yung feeling ko talaga, I'm all taking the Singaporean flag. Talagang I'm Singaporean by heart. At that time. Pero ang sinasabi nga ng wife ko is, ikaw, pero kami lahat hindi. Lahat kami naka-visa lang. Naka-visa lang kami. Any moment, pwede kami pauwiin sa Pilipinas. Lahat mawawala. So, nung February 2017, nag-try kami sa UK. And then, for me, I did not renounce my residency not until Singapore National Day of 2019.
Wow,
Yun.
talagang remember mo yung dates, sir. Medyo
Yes.
talaga.
Yeah, so yung the day na sinubmit ko yung residency renunciation ko sa Singapore Embassy sa London, High Commission sa London, it was the Singapore National Day. So ako kasi, kumbaga kami, even my wife as a couple, wala naman we don't have bad eggs about Singapore. Kaya lang kasi, yun lang I mean, tayo kasi bilang Filipinos, nasasaktan din tayo na if you can't plan ahead and you're starting a family, then you have to evaluate your options, di ba? Even though the country has treated you right, I mean, hindi ka naman ingrato, talagang kumbaga yumaman ka mula sa mahirap, yumaman ka, nagkapera ka, naging matalino ka. Pero if you cannot plan long term, you have to protect yourself, your family then.
Yes. Correct. Yes. Of course.
Tama yan.
Of course, family first. Right?
Yes.
You need to secure your family. Then second, work for all the factors. Okay, so that's a good experience in Singapore and what you've encountered personally and professionally. Okay, thank you, Architect John Marvin. And now, I think, okay, so now meron tayong another guest. So, okay, he's one of the past UAP past officer, and of course, we're very close to this guy, and one of the most active before when there was in Singapore, and also our kumpare. So let's all welcome Architect Marlon Niduaza.
Hello.
How are you?
Okay lang. Sorry, I'm late.
Ba?
Sorry, I'm late. May pasweldo kasi.
Ano na?
Nagpasweldo
Kwentuhan lang.
kasi.
Okay.
Okay.
How are you,
dahil
architect?
mo lang.
Okay lang
Kailangan mo
naman.
sagutin mo.
I'm now based in San Juan, La Union, the surfing capital of the north of the Philippines. No?
Wow.
So so pagka merong Siargao sa south, sa La Union naman sa north naman is La Union. Yeah. So we are based here with my wife, Architect Joy V, no, and the family. So we've been staying here for quite some time. Almost 3 years na, 3 years. Since 2017 when I left back Singapore. Yeah.
Tagal na, no? 6 years.
Kailan
Parang kailan lang, 'di ba? Parang kailan lang yung parang realization na babalik ka na ng Pilipinas, tapos you'll be experiencing the Philippine the smell of the Philippines back again, no? Yun pa rin.
What is the smell of the Philippines, sir?
Alam mo na yun.
My sir, actually, you're correct. If you work in Singapore, you can smell like parang lahat airport. Alam mo yun? Yung pagpasok ka ng Singapore, parang there's a distinct smell. Punta ka ng orchard, same smell. Yung perfume. Tapos, pag tungtong ka ng naiya, alam mo na, amoy talaba na. Ganon, di ba? Parang amoy na siyang dagat.
Grabe talaba, ah.
Diba?
Sakit naman nun.
Hindi. For my experience lang, parang when I worked before, parang, ay, oo nga. So, since nasa Jakarta ako, so wala na, normal na siya. So, amoy.
Dito
parang,
paglabas mo ng eroplano, maamoy mo yung sinusunog na dahon, di ba? Yung nagpapasunog sila ng pantanggal na lamok.
Oo, gano'n. Sa Singapore talaga parang napaka ng smell. Parang iba yung smell niya. Parang, I'm in first world country. Okay. So, thank you for sharing, Architect Marlon.
Yes.
Yan. O sige, dahil sa kakarating mo lang, kailangan mo sagutin yung mga unang tanong.
Sorry. Ako agad.
Oo.
Okay.
O, ito pa sa
Nakarami na kami.
Oo. Nakasagot na. Sige, first question. Tell us about your SG life, Singapore life. So how can you say that Singapore became your playground as an architect?
Okay, yeah. So basically yung Singapore life ko started in 2007, no. 2007, it was should I say parang not as planned because wala naman talaga akong plano mag-abroad, but then this opportunity came in as yung first company ko, which is DP Architects. Parang I was scheduled for an interview dito sa Manila. Actually, sa Manila pa kasi yun 2007. Tapos, sabi sa akin, Marlon, I would like to work in Singapore. Sabi ko, yes, siguro, maybe 1 year. Try to have some experience, di ba? Parang, kasi dito tayo sa Pilipinas, medyo, yung setup natin is yung environment natin is medyo sa residential, maliliit na project. So, I was thinking na siguro in a one year time, baka I can experience yung mga projects like yung mga malalaking projects, complex, high-rise, parang gano'n. So, so 2007, I made it in Singapore, October 2007. Tapos, I had my first company, which is a DP Architect. And I was one of the parang isa sa mga daming Pinoy, DP daw, daming Pinoy doon sa DP Pinoy.
Oo,
so
madami ang Pinoy sa DP.
Dami, parang sabi nga, di ba sa Marina Square yung DP Architects, di ba? So hindi kayo magkakakilala doon maski kasi ilang studio yun, 3 studios yun. So hindi mo alam yung Pinoy na yun is sa kabilang studio pala. So yun, so
also from DP, di ba, ma'am?
Ka-office, magkasama kami ni Mark.
Ma'am Hazel, diba, for
magka-team kayo.
Hindi kami magka-team, pero
hindi.
Sa
ako studio, kasi marami kasing studio doon, may 3 studio, tapos iba-ibang director pa. Yun. So I was in studio 2 under Mr. Chan. I think si Ma'am
Studio
Hazel.
1.
Studio 1, no? Oo, yan. So, so I was in my first 2 years in Singapore, actually first year, no? Sabi ko nga 1 year lang ako eh. So 1 year. in my first year, I was really exposed to different types of projects na agad. Sabi ko, is very blessed. I mean, for example, my first project in Singapore, in DP Architects was to handle, yung kay Zaha Hadid, yung signature towers. So parang sabi ko, Zaha Hadid yung agad. Sabi ko, wow. Sabi ko, di ba, parang, kagad ako na starstruck ako kagad. But then, hindi nga natuloy itong project ni Zaha Hadid because of the recession in 2008, 2007, 2008. So, ayun, after that, hindi ako ang ginagawa na namin is mga Dubai projects, yung mga kami yung part ng DP na they are doing competitions for the royal family of Dubai. So parang yun, puro competition. So yun yung masabi ko in my first year sa Singapore, parang parang yun yung chance of a lifetime as an architect, di ba? Parang sabi mo, sa Pilipinas, actually, yun talaga yung gusto ko ma-experience. Parang, dito ako sa Pinas kasi, di ba, parang maybe a little chance siguro. You will have a chance, but then siguro hindi ganun kalaki, kabongga, ka-magnificent, ka-great yung but then, when I went abroad in Singapore, parang in my first year alone, parang grabe na. Ang lalaki ng mga projects is overwhelming. And then, you'll be meeting a lot of people. Actually, yun yung one of the key points that I really appreciated in Singapore for the past for the 10 years that I stayed back. Kasi stayed in Singapore kasi nga you'll be meeting a lot of people, from all walks of life, tapos from all companies, from different mga contractors, subcontractors mo, consultants, mga engineers mo, parang yun, 'di ba? Parang lahat yun ma-meet mo sila and then you will be part of the team. Maski hindi ikaw yung, let's say, hindi ikaw yung mismong tinatawag nilang architect by design kasi yung company mo yung nakaano doon, but then it's still a good responsibility as one Filipino on the team that is helping this type of projects. No? So yun, so after I on my first 2 years, so yung first year ko I was in DP, then pinapunta ko na yung family ko sa Singapore, my wife, Architect Joy V, tapos yung that time was yung panganay namin si Oyo. So yun, as a family, doon na kami sa Singapore kasi yung nga, 'di ba, isa sa mga parang dilemma natin when you are an OFW is you are far away from your family. So ang ko noon is tara tayong family na, buong family na tayo para masaya, para maalagaan nating mabuti yung bata, di ba? Parang gano'n. So, yun yung naging goal namin. So, punta tayo Singapore, doon tayo lahat. Yeah, so yun. Tapos on my, so parang nag-stay ako ng 2 years sa DP Architects. And then, I moved to a smaller firm, no? Kasi parang, yun nga, one of the, parang, hindi, parang feeling ko lang, hindi naman siya maganda na hindi maganda na nasa big firm ka is because parang ang dami ng load mo, parang gano'n, so parang nakaka-stress or parang minsan yung that time parang ang hirap ng mag-balance ng time with the family and work kasi sobrang demanding nung work namin as a design team. So I went into a smaller firm which is AEP Consultants, and I was the lead designer kasi nga that time parang I was experienced in design, tapos I've been doing kasi nasanay tayo sa presentations, yung mabilisang presentations like in doing SketchUp, sa renderings, tapos even yung mga softwares kasi when I'm in DP Architects, I was using MicroStation, no? So parang yung MicroStation that time parang hindi pa siya ginagamit ng lahat. So yun, parang di ba isang experience na naman yun na probably hindi mo ma-experience when you're in the Philippines, but then ito binabigyan ka ng opportunity to learn one more software. Parang aside from AutoCAD, meron ka ng isa na namang level up na skill. So yun, I was hired by this company and I'm exposed to doing MRT projects, no. So MRT projects, alam naman natin sa Singapore parang siya, di ba? Very complex yung MRT MRT infrastructure. So yun, so I was for that 5 years that's sa company na yun. I was doing basically MRT stations. From alam niyo diyan yung andiyan yung Circle Line, Downtown Line, yung Circle Line na bago. So yun, ang daming experience for that 5 years. So I've been dealing with LTA, yung mga agencies dyan sa Singapore, tapos yung mga different consultants, structural, electrical, mechanical. Tapos ayun, I've been the face of the company to present the design schemes, and also for coordination sa contractor, no. Tapos after noon, another 2 years I went to another company, no, parang another company that's doing MRT station. So parang yung 7 years ko, parang I was exposed and na-mold ako to be in the transportation rapid transit experience, no. Yung yung MRT station underground and over and above ground. Tapos that time I was in RDC Architects, no. Sa RDC I was doon ko naging mas close si Architect Jerry Chan, no. So andiyan ba siya?
Jerry,
si Sir Jerry, so one of the pioneers sa UAP Singapore na yan, no. So that time he was the beam manager for RDC. So yun, dami ko natutunan. That's the time that I learned Revit. So Revit naman, di ba? Alam niyo naman yung every talagang nagtataas, nag-upgrade tayo dapat para you have a potential to be if you want to mas magandang sweldo, mas magandang company, or company will be hiring you. So parang dapat you'll be updated palagi. Yun, tapos after that, yun yung time na when I was in RDC, that's the time na we had the deciding factor as a family to if we will be coming back to the Philippines or not. So parang yun. So ayun, after noon, we applied for our PRship and it was denied. So yun, nagplano na kami for 3 years. So yung last 3 years ko, I was in a contractor firm na. Kasi gusto ko masubukan naman kasi I've been in a consultant firm for 7 years. Gusto ko nasa contractor naman ako para ma-experience ko naman yung design ko, yung design translated into construction. No? Parang sabi ko, parang one whole package na yan. Yeah, so parang gano'n. Yun. So yun, until 2017 I was in Sato Kogyo. So I'm not sure if some of you have been to know this company, but then this is a construction firm doing MRT stations also. Yun, tapos after 2017, I went back June 12, 2017, no, Kalayaan, Independence Day, I went back to the Philippines. Talagang sabi ko, it's freedom talaga. No?
It's freedom.
Freedom. So yun. So, well, based on the first question, sorry, mahaba yung kwento ko, but then the first question is, what did SG give me, no? So SG equipped me with the skills, the experiences, the exposure, the contacts, the networks, the friends, no? Yung mga kumpare ko ngayon na all around the world na kami ngayon, parang actually itong weekend rush, palagi namin ginagawa to eh. Parang normal na lang to normal na lang na
rush lang siya.
Parang gano'n lang, di ba? So, yun, parang, so...
Inaanak ko yung bunso mo.
Ano?
Sago, inaanak ko yung bunso mo.
Kita mo, ayun, mga kumpare, di ba? So, yun. So, the experience in SG really helped me to become the architect of what I am now, practicing here in the Philippines, no? As a profession, as a mentor, as a probably advocate in the profession, kasi dito sa atin, di ba, alam mo naman, marami tayong issues dito. So yun, yung background na yun, 10 years in experience in Singapore, parang na ako. I've been blessed with the skill set and the mindset of a professional architect.
Wow, so very long story. Yeah. You've shared everything, your professional life, your personal life. So thank you so much, Architect Marlon. Pare, musta? Okay naman. Now still Architect Noni struggling for the connections.
Connection,
Sir
yes.
Noni, can you hear us o no ba? Sorry,
Let's
may
try.
mga din tayo
Pero,
doon.
let's try to add him.
Ayan. Architect
Ayan na.
Noni. Ayan na. So, kasi umuulan sa Pinas ngayon, kaya medyo ano tayo. Sir Noni.
Yeah, may babagyuhin na kami bukas.
Bukas pa ba? Akala
Oo,
nga namin magiging weather reporter ka dyan eh.
Oo
Ano?
nga. Update mo nga kami, sir.
Sa dako pa roon, meron pang lalabas na bagyo.
Marina Bay
Dapat-
Sands yun eh.
Ay,
Dapat pre, nandun ka sa Miranda Sands.
Oo, Miranda.
Oo nga. Tama.
Oh, sir, free promotion ka na dito.
Oo, promote mo ni Miranda Sands.
So we are inviting you to come to
After the
invite na yun. Ayan na yun.
Okay,
Wala
Sir
pa
Noni?
Sir Noni, ah.
let's try
Wala.
muna.
Yeah, wala pa.
Let's try later for Sir
Okay, so
Noni.
let's try again. Okay, so
Yes.
Yung second
So,
question natin for Architect Marlon.
Okay.
What made you decide to go beyond Singapore?
so
Beyond Singapore. Beyond Singapore means for me, no? Beyond Singapore is going back home in the Philippines, no? So yun yung beyond ko. So some of us is beyond is they went to another country, migrated to different parts of the world. But then on my part and my family's part, we decided to go back home, no? So factors that we considered on going back home is that first, is an unfortunate part of us na hindi kami na-approve as sa PR-ship. So yung sa residency kasi 'di ba, I'm not sure if you all know, parang nagkaroon ng higpitan diyan sa Singapore ng for the residency. So it's because our children are growing, lumalaki na sila. Tapos the expenses are quite in Singapore naman alam natin na malaki yung expenses diyan. The living expenses natin is quite high. Yung rent natin, tapos yung mga bata is nag-aaral pa sila. So yung rate ng pag-aaral, isipin mo parang that time we were paying about 20,000 pesos in pesos, no? Monthly yun. Times 2. So 40,000 pesos. So parang dahil hindi kami PR, no? So parang ganoon. So yun, yung sabi ko nga is yung 2013 nung last kami nag-apply. And then sabi namin, pag ito hindi pa kami na-approve, then we plan. So yun na, tandaan yung sinabi ko we plan to go back home in 2017. So sabi ko nga, kasi bakit 2017? Kasi yun yung time na matatapos na ng primary 6, which is yung grade 6 yung anak namin na panganay. So parang tatapusin na namin para uwi na siya. Uwi na kami. Ayun. So yun, that's the first factor, but kami we plan to go beyond after Singapore sa Pilipinas. Tapos the next consideration is because my wife, meron na silang we have yung father-in-law ko already have an office. Kasi architect din yung father-in-law ko. So we have an office already established in the Philippines, in La Union. So since naisip namin, actually parang mas mapapadali na hindi kami masyadong mahihirapan kasi meron na, andito na yung company, and then we will just be nourishing it, continuing it, di ba? So parang yun, hindi katulad that you will be starting from scratch, na from zero ka talaga, na then you will be establishing a new firm, a new company. So yun, so parang inisip namin, well, andyan na siya, andyan na yung mga assets, andyan na yung mga contacts, andyan na yung mga clients, so why not, di ba? So yun, we will be the second generation architects of the company. Yun. So that's the second one. Tapos third factor would be for me, parang for the past 10 years sa Singapore, parang na-feel namin na we've been it's been long enough that we stayed out of Singapore, and we missed a lot of birthdays, family gatherings sa Pilipinas, no? Yung parents ko, yung parents ni Joy V. So parang pag nakikita mo yung parents mo, parang ang tanda na nila or something na parang, wow, 10 years na yung wala ako sa Pilipinas na hindi ko sila nakakasama, hindi ako nakakapag-birthday. So yun, parang sabi namin is, yun, it's a good opportunity to come back and yun, bawi tayo sa family natin and spend more time with them. No? Kasi yun, we felt nung nasa Singapore kami, we've been working so hard, we've been working so passionately with our work, but then it's because we are out of the Philippines, hindi na namin napupuntahan yung mga special days and yung mga araw ng family, no. Tapos last is yung fourth na factor namin is we gusto namin talaga, we would like to have our own practice back home. Kasi parang pag tumanda ka na raw, sabi baka ka na. Is always good to start na habang bata ka pa so that you'll be parang you step by step go and establish your own firm na yun para mas mapalago mo pa siya, mas ma-practice mo pa yung architecture professionalism mo. Yun. So yun yung 4 factors na kinonsider namin when we were na ba't kami uuwi ng Pilipinas for good. No, na marami nagsasabi ba't ka pa uuwi ng Pilipinas 'di ba? It's not kumpara mo sa Singapore parang 'di ba? Parang ba't ka pa pupunta diyan? Hindi secure. Sabihin na natin totoo to na hindi secured, hindi maganda environment, ang daming issues, no? But then sabi ko nga it always feels good to be at home, 'di ba? Ako, I'm not sure among you guys, but wala si Sir Noni, which is also here in the Philippines. But sabi ko nga, sa Pilipinas, madidiskarte po lahat kasi andito ka. No? But when you're abroad, probably, kasi nga, hindi naman tayo citizen dyan or hindi tayo taga dyan talaga. So, ayun. So, yun lang yung feeling namin as a family. You'll be more free to pursue your dreams pag andito sa Pilipinas. Yun lang. You need to be more resilient, no, kasi ang daming rito issues, unlike dyan sa atin sa abroad, maganda yung environment, maganda yung practice, maganda yung so ayun, and also add ko na lang isa pa, we also want to give back. Alam mo yung we've been working so hard to help other countries to be better, like Singapore, no, parang nagpaka-sakripisyo na tayo to become OFWs to help them to give them a good and a bright city. Tapos sa Pilipinas hindi natin magawa. So yun, I've been involved in master planning sa mga towns, helping them kung paano ma-establish yung paano ba yung mga paano maging walkable city yung mga town, paano yung maging more greener yung open spaces nila. Yun, parang yun. Siguro yun yung my way of thinking back na dapat tulungan natin yung Pilipinas in a way na na ginawa natin sa Singapore last time.
Yeah. That's good. That's good.
Yeah, I think for all our guests, so 2 guests are go back to other country, go to other culture again. But for Architect Marlon, parang bawal siya sa comfort zone kahit papaano, 'di ba? So so it's a good point.
Okay, try natin
si Architect Noni again. Sir Noni? Yun! Sir Noni? How are you, sir?
Sir, can you hear us?
Can you hear us, sir?
Sir Noni?
Sir, maraming nagtatanong sa'yo, nasan ka na daw? Na yung mga office mates mo, nasan ka na daw? Sir Noni, can you hear us? Medyo talagang mahirap.
Ayan, Sir Noni.
Ayan, Sir Noni, gumagalaw na siya?
Okay, later na.
Later. Let's try again. Okay. So, thank you so much for sharing your life and for all your experiences, Architect Marlon. Okay, so next for our questions for sharing. So, after all these challenges and experiences you've described, you've given us for the family, financially, for all the considerations. So, from now, can you describe yourself in a one word and a brief explanation and why and
Why?
why?
Why
So
daw?
maybe you can start with since architect Hazel.
Hmm.
Why?
Ah,
Architect Hazel.
ah,
Okay.
okay.
Describe
I think
yourself in one word, ma'am.
one
Why?
word. Do I need to explain bakit?
Yes,
Bakit
yes. A
Yes.
ganun?
brief explanation why. Yes.
Siguro unkabogable. Char.
Wow.
Hindi,
Yun eh.
hindi,
Showbiz tayo, mama.
I'm still on mute.
Why, ma'am?
um,
Why? Why
hindi.
unbogable?
Hindi, ano baguhin ko? Joke lang yun.
Okay lang. First answer. Just explain.
Siguro sa akin is valuable. Char. So, yung valuable, di ba, para siyang something precious, extravagant, parang big ticket, ganyan. So, siguro para sa akin as we persevered through sa mga challenges before, of course, kada challenges, you gained experience, you gained knowledge. So, it in a way, it becomes your strong point. You become an asset of something. Siguro sa career natin, through the years, nagiging asset ka ng company. Pero what's more important is, on a personal note is parang yung impact na binibigay natin sa ibang tao. So, moving from Philippines, Singapore, and then now Australia, I would say na naging valuable ako in terms of provide good relationship and ship to other people na consider nating family na natin. Hindi lang kasi mostly 'di ba pag lumilip ka ng bansa, palayo kami ng palayo
Yes.
sa family members. So we tend to parang build families through friendship. So yun, parang sa akin is parang if I'm to describe myself, naging valuable ako sa hindi lang sa career ko, sa ibang tao.
Okay. Okay. Thank
That's
you,
good.
ma'am. Architect Hazel. I think now Architect Noni is here. Sir Noni, can hear us? Sir Noni.
Medyo na-delay si sir. Yung
Oo.
niya, connection. Sige.
Okay, okay. So thank you, Ma'am Hazel. So you're valuable, right? Next word maybe to describe architect Marlon.
Okay. For me, hashtag feeling blessed. Pwede ba yan? One word ba yan?
Yan ang gusto ko sa'yo, sir, eh.
May ganun pa yan, no? Hashtag feeling blessed. No, well, parang feeling blessed in a way kasi na parang, well, okay. I mean, yung I was speaking of my of the situation now, no, as we're in a pandemic, no, and amidst this crisis, amidst this
Yes.
problema.
I'm here.
Ayun.
Yun. Sir Noni, how are you? Marlon, wait, ano natin si Sir Noni. Sir Noni?
I think delayed yung connection.
Oo nga,
Go
parang-
ahead. Walang sound ngayon.
Ayun.
Hello.
Hello.
Hello,
Hi.
sir. Say hi! Sir, marami naghahanap sa'yo. Okay,
Ay, talagang
so yeah, okay, so, sorry, continuing, Sir Marlon?
Ayun. So, mga napuputol Sir Noni, no. So, yun, bale, yes, I would say feeling blessed kasi yung nga aside amidst this pandemic, meron tayong we've been the practice is doing well, and the projects are coming in, tapos Now I have actually mentoring, no? So mentoring, ibig sabihin, mentoring, I have may mga apprentices tayo sa office na, I've been imparting to them yung how to be good on as an architect, how to improve your integrity as an architect, tapos how to practice, no, parang ganon. So hindi man tayo makapagturo in a way na sa academic or something, but we Joy V and I are doing our part as as mentors, no, to this young architect. So parang maski ito lang sila for the meantime, no, parang maturuan lang natin, magkaroon lang sila ng parang different ng mindset na how to become a good professional, how to deal with clients, to passionately do your things na mapapasaya mo yung sarili mo, and also of course beneficial to the client din, no, and to yourself, parang ganon. Tapos yun, blessed tayo kasi we are, even dito tayo sa Pilipinas, na medyo nahihirapan tayong yung kalabanin yung COVID, but then we are surviving, we are healthy, we are even we have the chance to help other people, yun. So yun, that's why I feel blessed about what I'm having now as of the moment.
Okay, thank you, Architect Marlon. So after valuable, next being blessed. What's the word for you, Architect John? Architect JM.
Pumapasok yata si Noni.
Sir Noni?
Sir Noni.
Sir Noni. Sir. Sir, if you can hear us, say hi. Okay, so maybe let's continue, Architect John. So,
Okay, sige.
how can you describe yourself now? And brief explanation.
Okay. Yung sa akin, ang word ko is thankful. Why thankful? Kasi nga, kami ng wife ko, we both came from humble beginning. So, pag napag-uusapan nga namin ng misis ko, ang hobby namin ngayon ng misis ko is to walk around our neighborhood, our village. Ang parati namin usapan is, kasi magka-classmate kami ng misis ko since grade 2. So, ang usapan namin parati, napaka-humble ng beginning namin, sabi namin, would you believe galing lang tayo ng Novaliches and then na-achieve natin to? Kasi, kaya thankful kasi when we were given the chance to work sa Singapore, parang feeling namin, in terms of opportunities for success, narating namin yon in our own respective na race. Kumbaga, yung misis ko, successful siya, ako successful ako. And then, yung sabi nga ni Ma'am Hazel, imbes na pauwi sa pamilya kami, mas lumayo pa. Diba?
Yes.
We are 8 hours away from our family sa Manila, and then we are 11 hours away from our families in Sydney. So, malayo talaga kami. Talagang nasa parang outer space kami. Pero kaya ko sinabing thankful kasi buo yung family namin. Number one, maayos yung family namin. Nag-aaral sa local school. Then, yung wife ko, she has a good career here. Ako naman, maganda rin yung career ko. Finally, in terms of career, to put it this way, yung government, UK, has launched the biggest in the generation in terms of healthcare developments, new hospitals coming in. This is the biggest development in a generation. And then out of that, merong 6 hospital complexes na ginagawa. Sa 6 na yon, from my previous practice na pinagtrabahuan ko for 2 years, involved ako sa healthcare planning nung 2. And then ngayon, sa bagong to, involved ako sa isa. So kumbaga, kung sasabihin ko sa 6 na biggest hospital project na sabay-sabay gagawin ngayon sa UK, very thankful ako na nakapag-contribute ako doon sa tatlo in terms of hospital planning. And kung sabi ng hospital planning, these are strategic planning mula sa, strategic planning and design ng hospital. So, on that career, very thankful ako. And then, in terms of yung connection mo sa Philippines, thankful pa rin ako kasi for the past 2 years now, may project din ako sa Philippines. So, yes, meron akong master plan na logistics redevelopment doon. And then, actually, it started from feasibility master plan, which is mabilisan lang. Ginawa ko lang siya for 2 months, 3 months, and ako lang talaga mag-isa nun. And then ngayon, ginagawa na namin yung architectural packages. Na-delay lang because of COVID and lockdown kasi problema ng client is hindi siya makabili ng mga materials niya kasi i-import niya from China. Pero supposedly dapat nagko-construct na siya end of this year. So it gave me at saka yung meron akong batang parang associate, okay? Parang I would call him an associate kasi architect din siya, pero bata lang siya who helps me on that project, nasa Philippines siya. And ang masasabi ko doon, kung ba't thankful kasi it's possible pala. Possible pala na kahit na nandito ako sa UK and then fortnightly nagkakaroon ako ng call with the client, then yung drawings, because yung Revit allows you cloud computing, so kahit yung model nasa Philippines, matcha-check ko from here, nakakapag-coordinate kami nung tsaka pag lunchtime, lunch break ko 1 hour, kausap ko yung associate ko na nasa Pilipinas, ganun. So on that sense, fulfilled din ako. So ano pa bang hahanapin ko? Then in terms of money, comfortable naman kami. Then in terms of yung, kumbaga kami nga, the day na sinoli ko yung PR ko sa National Day 2019, kasi we bought a house here. And with all, hindi naman sa nagmamayabang, sabi ko nga, galing kami sa mahirap ng misis ko, we're living in a big house. It is a 5-bedroom house.
Wow.
So malaking house siya, 2-car garage. Para sa akin, di ako to sinasabi. Kasi, galing kami sa mahirap ng misis ko eh. So, and then, na-achieve namin to. Kaya pag naglalakad, ang hobby namin is maglalakad lang kami sa gabi, na pag-uusapan namin to na, di ba dati, nagko-commute lang tayo, sumasakay lang tayo ng jeep sa bayan ng Novaliches, ang putik-putik, ang baho-baho.
I'm from Novaliches, I can adopt.
Kung taga Novaliches ka, ako taga SMO, misis ko taga Novaville. So, and funny thing about it is, the more ka umaakyat, the more ka nagiging humble. The more mo nire-recognize yung humble beginnings mo. The more namin na napag-uusapan na dati, dyan lang tayo kumakain sa kung alam yung Doris, mga ganun lang. Pero yun yung happiness namin. Kaya sinasabi nga namin sa mga anak namin, how lucky they are. Silang magpipinsan. Yung isa nakatira sa Sydney, isa nasa Perth. So, yun yung sa amin. We're living to live virtually with family members. Ang biggest challenge namin is dito sa UK, syempre wala kaming maid, pero you have to learn to be more efficient. Yun lang. Pero again, my keyword would be thankful, or maybe I should change it to possible. Dream big. Everything can be possible with hard work.
Yes. So that's our all UAP SHG members beyond Singapore. So guys, so pwede daw tayo mag-visit kay Sir JM. Meron na siyang 5 rooms, guys. So all of us are invited. Ako na nag-invite, sir.
Yes,
for you.
yes. Si Sir Joey Manalad, he spent the New Year here last year.
Wow.
Good. At least may mga connections pa rin outside Singapore, right? Okay, so I think Architect Noni still cannot go in. Okay, Architect Man for the next question.
Okay, so dinescribe niyo yung sarili niyo in one word. No? So we want to know, ano ba yung mga challenges niyo when you came back to Manila or came to Australia and UK, no? So ano ba yung mga sa career or sa personal aspect na yung mga challenges nyo, especially yung mga first few months. Ayan. At saka ano na ba yung ay sabagay nabigay niyo na kanina kung ano ba yung parang current work niyo ngayon. So, let's start off with Architect Marlon.
Bakit Marlon ako pala? So, yun, no? So, yung challenges, no? Miss ko yung laksa. Laksa, tsaka yung chicken rice, no? Parang ganon.
Challenge niya.
Yung agad-agad
Yung pagkain, no? Siyempre kasi, di ba nakaka-miss yung parang gusto mo lang, pag nagugutom ka, punta ka sa baba ng HDB mo, makakakain ka, di ba? Parang gano'n. Ganyan nakaka-miss eh. Parang mas ang daming choices, di ba? Dito, paglabas mo ng kalsada mo, may ano lang, Angel's Burger, gano'n, 7-Eleven.
Angel's Burger talaga, sir. Alam ba ni sir mo?
Parang gano'n, Burger King o kaya, Burger Machine, di ba? Parang gano'n. Yun, so, yun, well, I miss the food, no? Siyempre, Singapore tayo, alam natin yung, sabi ni
misis mo, pagkain talaga ang na-miss.
Pagkain, hanap ng misis ko, pagkain na agad, no? Yeah, so, aside from food, no? First is the challenges, I mean, sa akin sa ano, no? Sa way of life, no? Parang way of life natin in Singapore is very comfortable tayo, no? Parang napakaganda ng ano eh. Sa Singapore kasi napakaganda ng transport system. Napakaganda ng environment, napakaganda ng system, no? Parang pagdating mo dito, parang ano na eh. I'm talking about Philippines kasi, di ba? So parang alam niyo naman lahat to, but then nagkaroon tayo ng ano eh, parang pagbalik natin may culture shock tayo. Parang, di ba? Parang pupunta ako ng palengke, pupunta ako ng market, di ba? Hindi na ako pupunta sa NTUC eh. Parang gano'n, pupunta ako sa palengke rito. Tapos pag wala kang sakyan, tricycle ka, di ba? Ang hirap-hirap pumakarang tricycle. Walang hindi naka-grab, parang gano'n, parang yeah. So parang yung convenience tsaka yung the good environment, comfortability natin sa ibang bansa, ang ganda, di ba? So pagdating ito, yun na, you need to live with that. You need to adapt kung ano meron. Tapos yung sa practice naman natin, sa practice naman of architecture, since architects tayo, basically yung challenges natin is yung pagbalik ko dito, I became idealist, no? Parang alam mo na, di ba, pag sa Singapore ka, parang parang gusto mo mabilisan, gusto mo yung trabaho ganito, mabilis yung reply ng email, di ba? Sa mga suppliers, sa contractors. Tapos yung government, gusto mo mabilis yung reply nila pa mag-a-apply ka ng building permit, di ba? Dito, alam mo naman, di ba? Kailangan pa ng konting padulas diyan, padulas dito, parang yung gano'n, di ba? Parang sabi ko, I know ito yung may experience natin, but ito ginusto mo yan, di ba? Gusto mong bumalik dito eh. Parang gano'n.
Choice mo yan, sir.
Di ba? Ginusto mo yan eh. So yun yung mga challenges, no? Parang I have an experience, no? First project namin dito sa Pilipinas. Nag-submit kami ng building permit. So sabi ng client ko, Arky, magbayad na tayo para mabilis yung permit, di ba? Sabi ko, wag tayo magbabayad. Pag nagbayad tayo, we're encouraging corruption. Di ba? Parang gano'n, ano po yan? Pinapakain natin yung mga buhaya, parang gano'n. Parang yun ang gano'n natin eh. So tsaka hindi po titigil yan pagka bigay tayo ng mga padulas. Yun. So, yun, end up, yung permit namin, 3 months wala pa.
Grabe.
3 months na wala pa. Sabi nung client ko, Arky, tara na, magbayad na tayo. Sabi ko, magbayad na tayo. Tara. Sabi ko, hindi. Ginagawa ko, inaaraw-araw na namin sa munisipyo. Engineer, paano ba to? 3 buwan na kami naghihintay ng permit, wala pa din. So, parang gano'n. So, ayan, eventually, sa pangungulit namin, at face value, face value na bigay, no?
Wow.
Nabigyan kami ng permit. So, after 3 months, after 3.5 months, binigyan kami ng permit. So, yun, parang, di ba, parang sabi ko nga,
Walang bayad yan, ha?
Ha? Wala.
Walang bayad.
Walang bayad.
pag gusto mo na walang bayad, 3 buwan, hintayin mo. Parang ganun lang.
Idagdag mo na lang sa schedule mo yung 3 buwan.
so ang ano noon is parang the thing is that parang you need to live with that. Tapos yun, parang frustrations mo, siguro babaan mo konti yung expectations, wag masyadong mataas since hindi ka na sa Singapore. Ayun, sabi nga sa akin ng mga clients, wala ka na sa Singapore, dapat ano ka na, medyo maki-adapt ka na rito. Pero yun nga, we've been trying to sabi ko nga sa ibang bansa napakabait natin but dito hindi natin gawin. So, yun. So maski tuloy-tuloy pa rin, pa rin tayo, follow the rules, follow the hangga't maaari wag tayo magbibigay, parang ganun. So, yun yung principles natin eh. So, dapat mai-overcome mo yon, tapos you'll be i-show mo lang na you stand by the truth tsaka yung yung tama, then you can malalampasan mo siguro yung mga challenges dito.
Okay, so may nag-shout out dahil sa food, si Architect Alex sabi na chicken for the win. So all of us are even here, wala talagang Singapore food na masarap na chicken rice. Bibili ka ng pack pero iluluto mo na, so talagang wala. Okay, so
next one. Architect Hazel.
Okay, so yung challenges namin when we first moved here, so parang from Philippines to Singapore actually nangyari kasi for us, we've already established our careers in Singapore for me and my husband who's also an architect, and then moving here parang back to zero. Magpapakilala ka na naman kung ano ka bilang arkitekto, and most especially wala kaming kilala. So, isa sa mga struggles namin is we are state dominated in Canberra but we have to stay in Sydney kasi most of our friends are in Sydney. Parang meron kaming kilala dito sa Canberra pero they are just two families. So, even though state nominated kami sa Canberra, we stayed in Sydney for 2 months, and first 2 weeks, literally I was crying, parang gusto ko na mag-empake, balik na ako ng Singapore. Actually, pagpasok pala ng airport ng Sydney, kasi ang nangyari sa amin, hindi kami nag-first entry to anywhere in Australia. Parang straight away during the application, we were waiting kung magka-first entry ba kami to Australia just to see things parang sa Australia kasi hindi pa kami nakapunta dito eh. So, siguro bigyan ko kayo ng idea. Yung nasa desk kami, yung mga amo namin, Australian sila. Pero ang press release namin, nung umalis kami mag-asawa, dalawa kami ni Dan from IDA. So, ang pinaalam namin is uuwi kami ng Philippines. Kasi Australian yung principal namin doon.
Hindi pwedeng malaman.
Oo, hindi niya malaman. So, nung nagsasign na ako ng exit, namin parang exit letter, parang ganun sa HR, narinig ko yung namin, principal namin, na they are doing a railway here. So, like Marlon, nasa railway din ako nung nandiyan sa Singapore. Or bidding actually for a railway in Melbourne. Sabi ko, magkakatabaho ako pag sinabi ko sa kanya na tutuloy kami ng Australia, hindi sa Pinas. So, last minute, nung parang saying farewell na, ganyan, sabi ko sa kanya, actually, we're moving to Australia. We're not actually moving. So, hindi ko na. So, para ma-idea sila and para, yun nga, baka meron kami employment opportunity dito ni Dan. Sabi niya sa akin, so we're in Australia. Sabi ko sa Canberra, sabi niya, have you been there? Sabi ko, hindi, never. Sabi, so you just dodged the bullet. Sabi ko, oo, ganun nga. So pagpasok pa lang namin ng airport, ang layo. Ang layo ng airport ng Sydney sa airport ng Australia. Para pagpasok ko, shucks, mali ata yung decision. And I can't take kasi nung application namin dito, ako yung nag-push. So, sinuportahan lang ako ni Dan. Ako yung nag-push. So parang kahit na ganun yung nakita ko, hindi ko pwedeng ipakita sa kanya yon. For first 2 weeks, literally I was crying kasi parang mali ata decision na pagpunta dito. Parang lipat
Parang
na lang
umiiyak
kaya
si
tayo ng Singapore, parang ganun. So ang mahirap kasi parang yung lifestyle change. From Singapore, kada sabi ni Architect Marlon, very convenient yung buhay. Pagdating namin dito, hindi namin alam na sobrang necessity that you have to learn to drive. You have to own a car. So first few weeks wala kaming sasakyan, and already converted his driver's license kasi meron siya from Singapore. Pero I wasn't able to convert my Philippine license to Singapore and Singapore to Australia. So it's not easy for me. And yun nga, walang maid and helper na katulad dyan sa Singapore na merong maid helper na tutulong sa'yo. So dito, you really have to rely on yourselves. Isa pang naging problem namin is finding a house. So, dyan sa Singapore, pupunta ka sa, pag may, ano tawag doon, may inspection, di ba? Pag mag-i-inspect ka ng bahay, automatic yun. Pag gusto mo na, mag-down na ako sa agent or sa landlord or kung sino man. Dito is a different one. Pag may gusto ka ng bahay, you have to compete with other applicants. So one of the requirements is you have to be employed, or you have to show them that you have enough funds from the bank. Sometimes hindi enough yung meron kang funds sa bank kasi parang isipin nila, hindi ka naman employed eh. Paano mo babayaran yung rental property? And nung time na yun, wala pa kaming work ni Dan. But yung paghahanap ng work, it's not a challenge for us kasi within few weeks, we already landed a job sa JW. So it's actually considered a big firm in Sydney. So instead, sabi ko nga 'di ba, dapat nasa Canberra kami. Pero sa Sydney kami unang nakahanap ng work. And since walang mate, ako muna yung nakakuha ng work doon. And the following day, during parang conversation with the boss, he asked about my family background. So I told him that Dan is also an architect, and he asked Dan the following day for an interview. And I was hired as microstation drafter kasi there's scarcity ng marunong mag-microstation dito sa Australia. So I was paid an hourly rate na malaki siya. Malaki sa sinasweldo ko sa Singapore. Kasi ginagawa namin isa sa master development sa Shantou, China. So the following day, Dan has to come to the office for an interview, and nag-swap kami sa baba, sa lobby. I have to get my daughter from him, and he has to go up and then be interviewed. And right there and then, he was offered a job as a senior designer. So parang sa akin, mas stable siya kasi senior designer yun sa kanya. Ako is microstation drafter lang. So I have to work for first 2 weeks. Tapos nag-swap na kami. Siya na yung pumapasok sa office kasi you cannot be employed at the same time. Wala mag-look after sa daughter namin or isasend namin sa childcare. And that time, she was only 2.5 years old. So yun yung mga struggles. Parang you really have to prioritize. Ano bang priority? Alagaan mo yung anak mo, may magtrabaho ba? So earning one income family, parang mahirap siyang pagkasyahin. Lalo na mag-start ka pa lang, you have to buy literally everything. We were actually weighing if we're going to send our furniture, our things, or whatever in Australia. But during the research, parang mas malaki yung gagastusin namin, magbabayad ka ng insurances and all. So yung mga ganong mga moving factors na mga ginagawa pag dito, yun yung struggle. And during employment naman, ang struggle namin, sa akin personally, hindi about racism, it's about sexism. Parang nandun pa rin yung mentality sa mga Australian na babae ka lang eh. And sa Singapore, hindi ko naramdaman yon kasi ma-attend ka ng meeting. Hindi lang naman ikaw yung babae eh. Parang marami kayong babae or sometimes parang 3 or at least 3. Parang it's very common to have a female architect. Pero dito naranasan ko na umattend meetings na mag-isa lang ako. And di ba malalaking tao yung mga Australians? yung upuan ko sinasagad ko siya kasi sa table andito lang ako. Andito ako sa table so I have to push my chair high up para makita ako and first meeting na inatenan ko literally wala akong sinabi. Pero dun sa Singapore parang nararanasan ko na, no, hindi ganyan, ganito yan. Meron kang voice. Pagdating dito, kasi wala akong naintindihan. Iba silang magsalita. Iba yung accent. So pagdating niya nung nandiyan sa Singapore, parang I consider myself as a good communicator. Pero dito parang, shucks, ang bobo ko, wala akong naintindihan sa sinabi nila. During sa 1 hour na yun, may mga na-pick up ako pero few words. Pero eventually nga, yun, naintindihan mo na kung paano sila mag-pronounce ng words. Pero hindi ko na maa-adapt yung accent talaga nila. So my daughter is actually having or already having her Australian accent but not for me and Dan. So isa sa mga challenges din namin ngayon kasi you have to send your daughter sa childcare if she doesn't attend preschool. So ngayon she's already in year 1 so she attends before and after school care. Before and after school care naman is ang pasok dito is between 9 to 5 or ganyan. So, aalis ka ng bahay. But who will look after your child? So, you have to bring her sa school. They will take care of your daughter from, say, 7:30 to 9 p.m. And then they will pick up your daughter from the classroom from, say, 3 p.m. to hanggang oras mo siya pick upin. Weekends, mauubos yung weekends mo actually doing household chores kasi no one will do that for you. Walang maid dito, walang helper. And if you plan to pay for someone to help you, sobrang laki ng babayaran mo kasi hindi mura ang manpower ng Australia. Pero yung magbubuhat, yung sa bahay mo, mga parang mukhang celebrity. Yung plumber natin, parang boyfriend eh. Ang gagwapo.
Sa kanila.
So, mahal actually ang mag-hire ng ganun. So, yun yung mga adjustments namin for the first few months. And siguro yung kailangan mo lang actually baguhin yung lifestyle mo. Sa Singapore, yun nga kanina, if you have joined us earlier, nabanggit ko na after office, wala ka nang gagawin, mag-shopping, kumain sa labas. Dito, hindi kasi ganun yung mga tao. You can see them parang very simple, the way magdamit sila. Nung during interview, parang magdi-dress up ka talaga, papasok sa office, naka-dress up ka. Pero makikita mo yung office mates mo na sobrang simple, yung wala ka makikitang branded. Singapore parang yun yung normal sa mga Pinoy eh. Jordan sa mga lalaki, sa mga babae, mga LV na ba, puro ganun. Pero dito, you really have to change your lifestyle and adapt kung ano yung kultura na meron yung bansang tinitirhan mo. And for the first few months, or actually for the first year, wala kaming bukang bibig ni Dan hindi sa Singapore kasi ganyan, sa Singapore ganun. Pero na-realize namin na, hey, wala ka na sa Singapore, nasa Australia ka na. Why don't you just embrace kung ano yung nasa Australia? And it's not actually, it's not a mistake for us to be here. Nung bumalik kami, last year lang kami bumalik ng Philippines. So, 3 years straight kaming hindi umuwi. But we have sent family members over to be with us. So, umuwi kami last year. We stayed few days sa Singapore and pagpasok namin ng Singapore parang medyo congested na kami, parang hindi na ito yung we felt na hindi na pala kami belong dito. So parang gano'n. Oo, beyond. Sa final destination namin. Nasa final destination na kami. Pero yun nga, so fast forward, we've already stayed here for 4 years as permanent resident and yun anytime this year we can already apply for citizenship. So ganun kabilis. Hindi namin magagawa yan kung nandiyan kami sa Singapore kasi for sure definitely pag nandiyan kami siguro sobrang hirap maski mag-apply ka ng PR. I don't think they still grant PR sa Singapore. So here yun, mag-a-apply na kami ng citizenship. So, yun. Yun lang po.
Wow.
Thank you.
Let's all pray for your
Thank you.
applications.
Yeah,
Okay,
no?
so ang daming challenges, guys.
Iba-iba talaga eh, no?
Yeah, it's
Oh,
very
masyado.
good experiences that you're sharing us, especially UAP SG members and audiences na nakikinig ngayon. Okay, so can we hear after Architect JM?
Done na.
Okay, yung sa akin yung challenges namin, yung pag-move kasi namin, kasi nga dahil company transfer, hindi naman, kasi ang understanding ko pag Australia, immigrant route which is on your own. Kami kasi dahil company transfer, nung pumunta kami dito nung February 2017, it was sponsored by the company. So everything, mula yung eroplano, pati yung some baggage allowance, pasensya na si Marcos. And then, pati yung, initially we were given house for, yes, okay, thank you. Okay. We were given house for 2 months, naghahanap ng bahay. So, pati yung transfer namin mula sa airport papunta sa bahay, it was all spent by the company. Pero, so kumbaga on that end, maswerte kami kasi nga may okay, cheers. Okay. Kasi nga may nag-sponsor sa amin. So, kumbaga akala namin madali. Pero again, at that time, ang feeling ko nga kasi is ayoko pa talaga umalis sa Singapore. So yung movement namin, ginawa namin siya on 2 phase. So nag-first entry kami dito nung February. And then after 2 weeks, nung nakuha na namin yung documents namin, ako, tsaka yung 2 anak ko, bumalik pa kami na Singapore. Naiwan dito si Mona. So yung ginawa niya nung that time, nung pag-uwi namin, yun yung real challenges kay Mona. Kasi nga, yung kinikwenta niya Architect Hazel, yung paghanap ng bahay, para siyang chicken and egg eh. Kasi bago ka makakuha ng bahay, kahit na may visa ka, kahit na may work ka, ang dami pa nilang hahanapin sa'yo paperwork, kailangan mo pa mag-hire ng solicitor, kailangan mo pa mag-provide ng maraming good background, reference letter, testimonial, ganyan. So, nahirapan sa gano'n si Mona. At saka nung time na yun, sabi ni Architect Hazel, it's hard to move around pag wala ka sa sasakyan. Si Mona, she was also not driving, pero she was by herself. And naghahanap siya ng bahay. And then, dahil wala naman kami sa city center, nasa outskirt kami, either bus or train, pero malalahi lalakarin mo. So, she's got to have a car. So, yun yung challenges. So, yung sinasabi ni Architect Hazel na yung from Sydney to Canberra, malayo, yung biyahe, nahirapan doon si Mona sa paghanap ng bahay namin. So, nung dumating kami rito ng mga bata nung June, birthday ko, again, big thanks to my wife, na-secure na niya yung bahay, meron na kaming rented property at that time, then nakabili na siya ng isang kotse. So, yung sa akin naman, yung challenges lang nun is, yung sinasabi nga ni Architect Hazel, yung parang sexism, gano'n. Pero yung sa akin kasi, it's more of, ako yung lalaki, and then ever since, I've always held yung mas busy job kay Mona sa Singapore. And then suddenly here, wala akong ginagawa. Sabi nga ni Architect Hazel, yung isa sa inyo will have to look after the family. I did that for 3 months. So alam to ni Marlon, every now and then, tumatawag ako kay Marlon, nagvi-video call kami. Ang hobby ko lang nun is magtanim, magluto, maglinis ng bahay. You know, very domesticated life. So yun yung challenge sa akin in terms of yung finances. So we had to adjust kasi ang tingin, UK is cheaper than Singapore in all facets. So it comes with the salary also. So in terms of money at that time, we had to adjust. Si Mona lang yung kumikita sa amin. Mamimili ka ng maramihan sa Costco, then ako magbabudget ng food. Natatawa si Architect Hazel kasi kumbaga isipin mo ako yung lalaki, mamimili kami ng maramihang karne, ako yung magbabudget ng food sa amin. Ganyan.
I love Costco.
Masarap na pizza, di ba? Ganon.
Masarap
Yes.
na
So,
pizza.
di ba pag bumili ka ng karne doon, maramihan talaga. So, Ganun, natuto ko gumawa ng tocino, homemade. Yun yung experiences ko. And then yung furniture, sinasabi ni Architect Hazel, you have to start again. Kami, when we were leaving Singapore, problem namin is how to dispose furniture. Chinarge pa kami nung landlord namin kasi nag-iwan kami ng furniture. So kami dito, again, we have to procure everything again. Ang hirap-hirap. Ako, naranasan ko. Actually, meron ako dito parang chess cabinet. I consider it swerte. Kasi I bought it when I was really, in a way, depressed. Kasi wala akong trabaho, wala akong pera, wala akong ginagawa sa buhay. Binili ko lang siya from a charity shop. I think sa Australia marami ng ganun. Nakabili ko ng isang magandang furniture. Ang bili ko lang doon is 1,000 pesos. And then it has stayed with us until now. So, yung time na yun, kaya nung time na yun for 3 months talagang nawala ako noon eh. Nalungkot ako noon. Wala akong upload sa Facebook or anything. And then, ang sabi ko nga rin, nasabi ko kanina kay Ma'am Maan, nung nagsisimula kami sa call, sabi ko, nung papunta ako ng UK, sabi ko, biggest fear ko, wala akong kakilalang Pilipino na nasa architecture, design, or construction industry sa UK. Lahat ng Pilipino, either healthcare, services, o kaya naman katulad kila Mona, sa financial. Sabi ko, inihahanda ko ng utak ko pagkarating ko rito, magiging dishwasher ako, magiging waiter ako. Yun yung biggest fear ko talaga. Sabi ko, nung nasa Singapore ako, mid-level manager na ako noon. Ang taas-taas ko na sa Singapore, ganon. I was holding contracts. Pagkarating ko rito, feeling ko magiging waiter, dishwasher ako. Yun ang fear ko talaga noon. And then, nung nasa Singapore ako, although Revit na nung panahon na yun, dahil nga kumbaga mid-manager na ako, ang trabaho ko na lang noon, nagko-coordinate, hindi ako nagre-Revit, hindi ako nagdo-drawing. Pagkarating ko rito, in order for me to find job, nag-aral ako ng Revit. As in, ang tanda-tanda ko yung mga kaklasmate ko, mga 21, 24, ako parang 36, mag-aaral ako ng Revit. Sinabi ni Architect Hazel, una nakakuha siya as microstation drafter. Ako nakakuha ko, unang trabaho ko, may nag-offer sa akin, draftsman na role din, ganyan. So, ang sakit sa puso kasi nga, feeling mo yung Singapore life mo, continuous paakyat ka ng paakyat, na parang inisip ko, paano mo i-reconcile yun? Para dahil ba dito sa pamumuhay sa bansa na to? Hindi naman tayo kahos sa Singapore, may katulong nga tayo doon, may yaya nga tayo doon. Tapos, namimiss ko yung friends ko kasi malaking bagay yung UAPS sa pagkatao ko. Kasi, sabi ko noon, pag nasa UAP event ka, you are a full-fledged architect kahit na nasa Singapore ka. You are not second-rate. You are not underemployed. You're full-fledged or full-fledged. Dito, wala akong kakilala. Makikilala mo na sa healthcare, iba yung mundo nila. Iba. So ako you have to restart everything. Wala akong kakilala, wala akong family. Lahat ng family namin, either Manila or Australia. So, ang lungkot. So finally, nakahanap ako ng work. Yung work na nahanap ko, nasa bundok, literally. Ang travel distance, chinek ko lang ngayon sa internet, it's from Tagaytay to Clark.
Wow.
Ganun kalayo. Yung binabiyahe ko every day. Every day. That is 66 miles. So, pag all-weather pa yon, kapag nag-snow, dadaan ka sa snow, ganyan. One time, nabangga na ako because of snow. Yun yung mga hardships. Pero, ang realization ko, despite all ayun nga, then sinabi ni Architect Hazel, kaya sobrang relate ako sa kanya. Sobrang taken for granted natin sa Singapore yung ability to hire yaya. Nung nasa Singapore ako, feeling ko kahit ano, kaya kong gawin. Weekends ko lahat, nasa UAP, weekdays ko nasa work. Pagkarating dito, talagang ang biggest na pinag-aawayan namin ni Mona is, household chores. Trabahong bahay. Kasi pareho kami nabibisi. Yung sinasabi niya about yung childcare, si Marcos, nung dinalian namin dito, he's less than 2 years old. We have to leave him sa childcare. And ang binabayad namin nun sa house, siguro, kung magkano binabayad namin sa house, 80% of that cost goes to childcare.
Same here, sir.
Ganun kamahal ang childcare cost dito. So parang, nung nakahanap ako ng work, immediately parang yung sahod ko, 80% ng sahod ko pambayad lang ng childcare.
Wow.
Parang
Mahal.
ganon. Again, sabi namin, kaya napag-uusapan namin, katrabaho pa ba ako? Mag-house band na lang ako, ganyan. Pero, kasi nga, nire-realize ni Mona, even after 1 year, pumayag sa akin si Mona, sabi ko, babalik na lang ako Singapore. Talagang, babalik na lang ako ng Singapore. Kasi ano bang problema? Pera? Singapore can definitely pay me better. Ganon. Friends, lahat. So, kaya ang dami naming struggle on that. Ilang beses kami nag-away. Sabi ko, babalik ako ng Singapore, ganyan. And then, eventually, as yung career mo, nagpo-progress, ang maganda nga naman sa Singapore is dahil na-train ka. Alam mo yun? And then dahil Pilipino ka, you can adapt to any kind of situation. Yun ang maganda sa Pilipino eh.
Yes.
Mula sa magandang offices sa Ayala, pagdating mo ng bayan ng Novaliches, ang putek. Laban lang, di ba? Carry lang, ganun lang. So, ganun yan dito. So, adjust ka lang kung ano man sa kanila. Yung intimidation, first intimidation ko is yung language proficiency nila, ang galing nila mag-English. Usually, nag-yes ka before you even understood kung ano yung sinabi nila. Pa-process mo na lang, ganyan. Pero, eventually, you learn how to push back. You learn how to shine. You learn, sabi nga, katulad, na-inspire ako sa sinabi ni Architect Hazel, yung sinasabi niya na, ipapakilala ko ulit yung sarili ko. It's a painful process na wala kang history, you're nobody, you have to introduce yourself again. You have to introduce yourself na hindi ka newbie. You've experienced this, you've experienced far worse or far grander scale of projects in Singapore. You've been in a much tighter project management role situation sa Singapore. Ganun. So you have to do that. And yung sa amin, yun yung mga struggle namin. Until now, we've not gone home sa Philippines, pero we've sent our families here. Ganon. Yun. Then in terms of yung sa timing namin, we're learning to schedule everything. You have to be more efficient. Ang maganda naman sa bansa na to, I think ganyan din sa Australia, is they recognize yung mga professionals that are in a family setting. So they give you a lot of flexibility. Parang, like, for myself, I work 4 days, 1 day at home. Previously, I worked 3 days, 2 days at home.
Wow. 4 days. Nice.
Yes. And then anytime, at any situation, you tell your colleagues na I have a family emergency, talagang hands down, kahit na anong ginagawa mo, all your colleagues, all your superior will understand. Let go of your work, go to your family.
Okay.
Yun ang saving grace dito talaga.
Yeah, I
Ganon sila. Yun.
think for other culture, right? With a family, no one can contest.
Correct.
Family is family, yeah. Unlike
Siguro-
like Asian. So if Asians, oh my, work, okay, family.
Don't care.
I've heard it in
Don't care.
Singapore. I've heard it in Singapore. I was coordinating. This is with Singapore General Hospital. So I was telling them na I have to go home now at 7 p.m. My son Matthew is sick. The client told me, but John, remember, I'm not your boss. I'm your client.
Yes.
So that means it's a no. You have to stay until 8:30.
Yes.
Ganon.
Meron ako i-add, sorry to
Opo, ma'am.
interrupt.
Opo, ma'am. Sige lang, ma'am. Actually, sobrang relate ako sa sinabi mo, ma'am. Sobra.
Yeah, I think
So,
for all.
Isa sa
Okay, game,
mga
Architect.
nakapag-push sa akin na talagang hindi ako na talaga para sa Singapore is during my pregnancy. So, I was juggling for 2 projects, both MRT stations, and of course, merong mga lead roles pa before you, pero ikaw talaga yung gagawa ng lahat. And I was like 5 months pregnant that time. I had to stay sa office until 2 to 3 a.m. in the morning. Na buntis ako na maglalakad ka. Oh, no. Before that, I was 2 months pregnant. I was carrying yung A3 size ng folder.
Maramihan.
Kanyang kakapal. Di ba, ang drawing sa Singapore, hindi naman yung katulad ng DA or building submissions dito na konti. Sa Singapore, paramihan. Paramihan kayo ng details. Hanggat kaya mong i-detail screw, di-detail screw na yan eh. So, I was carrying that and hindi mo naman napapansin yung body changes sa'yo kasi nga parang first trimester mo. I bled. I bled a lot.
Oh my God.
So, I had to rush myself. Ako lang mag-isa sa emergency because I bled. Because I was carrying lagi yung A3 na yon, saan ako magmi-meeting, saan ako sa office, may pupunta ako sa site, dala-dala ko siya. Kasi hindi mo pa alam yung body changes eh. So after that 5 months, so natapos ko yung first trimester. On my 5th month pala, I was doing overtime like shit. Sorry sa word, pero it was like shitty life ng architect. Parang hindi ito yung gusto ko. Pag nagkapamilya ba ako, umiiyak yung anak ko, uuwi ba ako? Paano ko siya maaalagaan, yaya ba lagi? So parang ganun. So totoo yung sinabi ni Architect John. Dito, wala silang magagawa pag sinabi mo na may family needs. Kahit anong gusto niya, just go. So for the first, actually magka-office mate pa rin kami ni Dan ng 3 companies dito. Magka-office mate kami and nabaon namin yung kung ano yung work ethics that we had in Singapore, yung panay overtime. Hindi ka alis natatapos. So, most of the times we have to pick up my daughter sa school or sa childcare or wherever she is, and then we'll just eat noodles or kahit anong dinner na meron kami, and dun siya matutulog sa office with us. Uwi kami 10, 11 p.m. Following morning, gano'n na naman ginagawa namin sa office. And hindi masaya ang mga Australians doon.
Correct.
Saturday, Sunday, papasok kami without us telling them na we're doing parang these long hours. Naaabutan kami ng mga directors namin working there with my daughter. So instead of parang spending your weekends with your family, nandun kami sa office, and surprisingly what they did. On the next paycheck, we received extra. We received extra income. That's how they show their gratitude. And they told us that your daughter is already banned in the office. It's not telling us na parang sinasabi nila na wag na kayong mag-overtime if not needed because they can actually move the submissions to cater for the staff. Sa Singapore, di ba, die must finish.
Sarap naman, pwede mo deadline, ano? Sarap pwede mo deadline.
So parang yung
Gosh. Okay.
work. Dito hindi. Meron talagang work-life balance.
Okay, so good. So you can see, so it's really have life beyond Singapore, right? So it's life beyond Singapore. But we cannot get out from Singapore because nandun tayo nanggaling lahat, and it really helps us kung ano tayo ngayon. Okay, so Architect Maan for...
Ang next natin is how can you encourage our audiences about life after Singapore? Words of encouragement.
Okay, so all of your struggles, all of the challenges now that you're saying to us, to all those. So ano yung parang siguro short, brief explanation lang or encouragement that there's a life beyond Singapore.
Yes. Let's start with Architect Marlon.
Okay. Yeah. So encouragement, no. So siguro I will my encouragement will come from my decision to go back to the Philippines, no. So yung encouragement ko lang is that hindi tayo pare-parehas ng experiences, no, but then some of us have struggles in work, no, sa abroad, no. For example, yung kwento ni Architect Hazel, Architect John Marvin. I think lahat tayo sa Singapore naka-experience niyan, di ba? So naalala ko noon when I was my first year in Singapore, I was sobrang stress ako sa yung parang ganyan, hindi na ako umuwi ng bahay. Buti na lang wala pa yung family ko dito noon. So parang hindi ako umuwi kasi we have a lot of deadlines, a lot of deliverables. So parang sabi ko noon, parang ba't ko ba ginagawa to, no? So yung first year ko, alam niyo yung motivation ko sa Singapore was pag stress na ako, I get a calculator, no? Calculator, gano'n ko sa ano. Kunin ko yung sweldo ko, i-multiply ko ng exchange rate. Wow, ang laki ng sweldo ko! Okay, back to work. Ganun ako dati. Nung first year ko, ganun ha. So parang, sabi ko kasi nga parang hindi ko ikikitain sa Pilipinas yan. So parang ganun ako, ganun yung motivation ko. Tapos, I matured next year, dumating na yung, yung family ko sa Singapore. So yun, they are my, my strengths, no? So yun yung nagpapatatag sa akin. So pag nag-OT kami at kailangan kong so kausapin ko na lang sila, pasensya na, hindi ako makakasabay sa inyo sa dinner kasi may OT kami, kailangan tapusin, die, no? Parang ganun. So,
as per Sir Rafi nga, Sir, die masle.
Die must finish, diba? Die must complete. Parang ganun,
die masle. Kenne!
Tapos OTY pa yan, sabi ni Miki, so OTY, di ba? TY lahat kasi wala kaming overtime pay, di ba? So parang yun, so yung as I grew up as I mature along the way sa Singapore. So parang nakikita natin na na minsan it's not about yung nga parang sabi nga nila on your 5th year medyo magkakaroon ka na ng sungay, di ba? Parang nakagano ka na hindi mo na ako mauutosan ng ganyan, hindi mo na ako hindi na ako yes man. So, hindi na ako yes man doon, hindi na ako yes man. Pag sinabi kong hindi kaya ngayon. Bisan ganun eh, parang kung ayaw mo, di ba, parang dumating na sa point na gano'n kasi nga, yung nga, gusto ko makasama yung family ko, di ba? So yung, sabi ko nga sa kanila noon, hindi na ako umuwi, na nag-OT kami ng 3 straight days. Sabi ko, parang nag-abroad na nga ako, parang feeling ko nag-abroad pa ulit ako kasi sa opisina ako natutulog eh, di ba? Parang gano'n. So parang sabi ko pag uwi ko ng madaling araw, alas 4, tulog na sila. Pag alis ko ng alas 7 ng umaga, tulog pa rin sila. Hindi ko na sila nakikita. So yun yung struggles ko on my mid duration there in Singapore. Parang yun. So it came to a point na parang sabi ko nga, ito na lang ba? Parang sabi ko, do I deserve this? Does my family deserve this lifestyle? This parang hindi ko na nababalance. Yun. So yun. Ang ko lang is sabi nga nila is marami tayong pwedeng gawin, no? So we can opt to choose a new job na medyo hindi ganoon ng ka-stressful, or maybe it's a possibility na you can go back home, you can practice here, you can be employed here sa Pilipinas, or probably kung gusto mo tayo ng is you can, no? Parang yun yung ko lang doon is life is short, no? We value our life in a way na hindi natin ubusin yung oras natin sa trabaho, no? Well, I'm glad na kay Architect Hazel at kay Architect Marvin ganyan yung situation nyo sa Australia at sa UK, no? In the Philippines medyo may mga times na ganun pa rin, pero as much as possible we don't do that, no? Kami nga ni Architect Joy V, sa totoo lang, kami din dito, wala rin kaming kasama sa bahay, no? Mahirap kasi dito naman hindi mahal, no? Mahirap magtiwala sa tao kasi
Correct.
Parang yun, diba? Diyan sa ibang bansa mababayaran mo kasi sigurado ka na agency, di ba? Magkakatiwalaan. But here parang hindi mo alam yung tao kung na mag-aalaga sa mga bata. So yun, doon kami takot ni Architect Joy V na yung tao na mag-aalaga sa mga bata is hindi namin kilala, nakakatakot, parang gano'n. So yun, until now we are struggling to juggle our time. Buti na lang thankful din kami na we are having our own office, no? Sa bahay, kami actually home office na kami. Tipid sa rent, tipid sa wala kang pupuntahan na office na Tagaytay to Clark na malapit lang, tabi ko lang na yung office na namin. Di ba?
So pwede kasi woke up like this, tapos busy na.
Parang pagising ko na umaga, nakapuruntong lang ako, doon ako sa opisina na nag-check na ako ng drawings ko, parang gano'n, no? So parang yun. Tapos yun, but then yun yung arrangements namin, no? So, but then, as much as kaya kami nagsarili as a architects at nagtayo ng company, is parang ayaw na namin yung employee life na parang hindi mo hawak ang oras mo, hindi mo wala kang time sa family. So yun yung naging goal namin, no? So sabi nga namin is you must have a goal. When we planned to go back to the Philippines 6 years ago, sabi namin na gusto namin we have time, no? Time for the family, time for everyone. Time for, pag birthday gatherings, makapunta kami sa lola, sa lolo, sa parents, sa tito, parang gano'n, di ba? I mean, hindi mo na magawa ngayon kasi pandemic, no? But yun yung gusto namin. That's the goal. Kaya, I encourage everyone na there's an option for everyone. Is either you choose, I mean, sabi nga nila, there's always two sides na pwede mong puntahan, no? Kung paano magpapasaya sa'yo. If you feel na magpapasaya sa'yo na to lumipat ng company to become lesser load, punta ka doon. Or if you want to, ayaw mo na, pagod ka na, yun, try to go to other countries, no? Like Australia or UK. Or you can go back here in sa Philippines, no? Sabi ko nga laging sa dalawang talk ko na sa Malaysia, UPKL tsaka sa Core Talk, no? Sabi ko, it's always a good time now to go back to the Philippines, no? Ang daming opportunities. So, hindi lang maraming options, maraming opportunities sa atin bilang architect. So, yun, I encourage everyone na to think about it. May mga challenges, but andito tayo, yung mga friends natin, mga kapwa ka-UAP natin to help us, to guide us, and also to share their experiences para ma-overcome natin yung mga challenges sa pag-migrate and yung beyond Singapore natin.
Okay,
So,
thank you so much.
Architect, you have slides that you want to share?
Okay lang, sige po. Okay. So, yun lang, no? So, pa-share na lang po yung slides. Brief lang to, ha? Actually, ito lang, share ko lang yung story ko, no? This is my new story. So, parang, 2017, I came back to the surfing capital of the North, La Union. So, dito kami nagstay na until now, 3 years. Tapos, yun, establish namin yung family corporation because my family, my wife's family, Joy's family, is a group of architects and engineers. So, parang, family corporation. Tapos yun, handle the frustrations. Tapos, sabi ko nga, ito yung hindi natin natututunan sa school, but we need to know business, no? The business of architecture. Dapat matutunan natin ito, how to overcome yung mga frustrations, and also yun, para magkaroon ka ng short term, mid-term, tapos long term goals sa gagawin mong office, for example, or businesses na gusto mo. Tapos yun, konti-konti try to adapt sa mga rito. What I mean adapt is parang try to learn try to learn the trick, kasi pag bumalik ka dito, you'll be parang shock ka dito, but then you will be able to adapt by just observing, by just talking to other architects, also sa mga kaibigan mo, family, and those things, no? So yung ko lang, siguro may tips lang before you if you plan to go and settle back home in the Philippines and start your own company. Ang ko lang, I have 5 tips lang. First is learn as much as you can. Ito later tong business. First is learn as much as you can. I-grab nyo na lahat ng gusto nyo matutunan, put it on your pocket, keep it, and then ma-apply nyo yan kahit saan. Tapos pangalawa, build your network, no? Yung network natin is that what network? Yung mga subcon mo dyan, contractor mo, consultant mo, engineers mo, kaibiganin mo sila lahat. Make your own network. Kasi you wouldn't know, pagbalik mo dito, they will still be your clients, no? Kasi, for example, now, I'm still having Singapore projects na because of my networks back there in Singapore when I was still working there. Tapos, plan your return, no? Sabi nga nila, hindi mahirap yung pabigla-bigla. So what we can do is, pagplanuhan mo na yan, what do you think you will be doing when you go back home, when you go back to another country? Anong gagawin mo dyan? So, you plan and you see ano yung pwede mong magawa. How do you want, like example yung ginawa ni Architect Marvin na sabi niya noon is he might not be able to practice architecture kasi, di ba, mahirap. But then he was able to do so, no? Nakabalik siya to the practice. Tapos ang ko doon is start when you want to go back home to the Philippines, start siguro 2 years before you go back, start introducing yourself again, no? Parang diyan sabi nga ni Architect Hazel kanina, andyan na sila sa Australia, sa UK, nung i-introduce nila yung sarili nila. But then, pag kayo babalik dito sa Pilipinas, beforehand, pwede nyo nang i-introduce sarili nyo. Kausapin nyo na yung mga kamag-anak nyo, kamag-anak, mga katropa niya, oy, trop, mga ano, pre, dito na ako, uuwi na ako dyan in 2 years time, i-ready mo na yung pera mo, papatayo ka ng bahay, di ba? Parang ganon. So, yun, i-ready mo na, i-reintroduce mo na sila, yung mga suppliers mo dati, i-ano mo na sila, sabihin mo na I will be coming back, and please support me as I will be building my own company again, no? Parang, yun, i-reintroduce in a way na parang sa kina Architect Marvin, tsaka Architect Hazel, i-introduce themselves back again. Tapos yun, bago pa lang kayo umuwi ng Pilipinas, try to integrate back again pa konti-konti. Like ginagawa ni Sir Marvin na meron siyang mga work dito. No, actually pag maski nasa ibang bansa kayo, pwede pa rin kayong magkaroon ng projects dito. So try to do that. Pa konti-konti makukuha niyo na ulit yung network dito at saka yung mga practices dito sa Pilipinas. So next slide. Yung ito lang short business na natin is marketing of your, kasi di ba naalala nyo, hindi natin ginagawa to usually. So but then ang daming ways para ma-market yung business natin. So andyan yung social media. Actually nakakagulat nowadays, ang daming mga what we call this, mga walk-ins sa social media, no, mga nag-i-inquire, mga inquiries dahil nagkakaroon kami ng mga social media advertising, diba? So sa office yun. Tapos yun, yung previous clients, alam ko dati pa tayo, before kayo pumunta ng Pilipinas, meron kayong mga clients dati. So try to reconnect with them, no. And then overseas friends, yun to, yung mga kaibigan nyo na na-meet nyo sa Lucky Plaza, na kasabay nyo kumakain ng turon, kaya ng lumpia. Oo, diba?
Sorry.
Kamote kahoy.
Yung mga naka-fishnet ba yan,
Sa kabayan.
Hindi nyo alam magpapagawa ng bahay yung pag-uwi nyo rito, di ba? So parang try to reconnect with them, yung mga yan, no? Tapos, yun, yung current clients mo dapat alagaan mo ngayon. Magpakilala ka as actually, ang laking impact na nasa ang laking impact dito na if you're Singapore or let's say galing abroad, no? Sabi nila, you're holding a standard of the other countries, no? So, ang ganda ng feedback. Tapos yun, building your own team, i-build mo yung team mo dito kasi hindi ka pwedeng one-man show. You need to, yung last na ni Sir Benji, nung last week, no? He was saying, siya lang yung sa office. But we find it na is good na magkaroon ka ng sarili mong team din na to help you. Tapos integrity and quality dapat ma-maintain mo yan. In every step of the way, dapat you always not to compromise and also protect your client's interest and yourself also, no? Tapos yun, actual socializing, ito sabi ko dito, dati pa kasi slide na to, medyo hindi to pang COVID kasi yung socializing is medyo dapat try to meet other people, no, pag nandito ka sa Pilipinas, and because sila yung you wouldn't know that they will be your future clients or potential clients. And then the last one is diversify, kasi dito sa atin hindi tayo pwedeng, I find it na minsan hindi okay na yun lang yung ginagawa mo, no, practice or architecture. So what we're doing now, we are diversifying, so other businesses na pwedeng magawa na you are happy to do it and you're quite passionate about it. Like for example, now we are doing hydroponics sa amin dito sa Pilipinas. So we are introducing it. Yung nakita namin sa Singapore, they are doing it there. So we are trying to do it as well here. So yun yung namin, diversify na ginagawa. Ayun, so thank you. Yun lang yung encouragement for everyone.
Wow.
Thank you.
Cool.
Wow.
Thank you so much, Architect, for sharing that good slides for us. Next, Architect Maan.
Next po natin si Architect Hazel.
Okay. So, paano ba?
Ano
ulit yung tanong?
Encouragement, ma'am.
Encouragement.
Yeah. I mean, there's a life.
Parang na-carried away ako sa sa slides ni
Kaya nga, parang gusto ko na
Marlon. So, yung sa akin, there's definitely life after Singapore. Pero for us, hindi sa ini-encourage ko yung mga listeners natin and all, but it's very situational. Sabi ko nga in my earlier kanina, sinabi ko dun in my earlier talk, parang we will not move to Australia if not by yung stability and building our family and raising our family here. parang kung wala kaming anak, we will still choose to stay in Singapore kasi nandiyan na yung convenience of life and 3 hours flight, nasa Pilipinas ka na. You can celebrate kung ano mang special occasions meron sila. Pero there are reasons why we still chose to be here na mas malayo. Bakit ba ano may mga I mean, you really have to weigh things on your own. You sit down and then parang you just don't decide na, "O, sige, punta tayo somewhere else." It's a process. Yung application pa lang ng visa, it's a long process. You have to invest time, money, and all. And yung mga unang sinabi namin challenges, pabebeng challenges pa lang yon. Hindi pa yon. Marami pa yung marami pa yung challenges. Hindi yung sinabi namin challenges lang yan in in positioning yourself sa bagong kultura, sa bagong bansa. Kasama diyan ang challenges, personal challenges. Kanina nabanggit ni architect JM, yung struggle na mag-asawa, mag-aaway kayo sa simpleng bagay. I think it's a normal thing kasi you went out of your comfort zone sa Singapore na may helper. So it's very yun nga tawag niyan, makikita mo yung importance ng helpers and yung convenience ng buhay outside Singapore. But as I've said, if you really value other things in life, it's not about just work and money. Hindi lang naman doon tumatakbo yung buhay. Parang you have to live life. Napakaigsi ng buhay just to revolve your sa puro pera, puro ano bang maa-attain mo sa buhay. So, I think for me parang pwede nating sabihin na change can be overwhelming kahit naman sino parang lalo na pag-step out na sa comfort zone mo, it can be overwhelming to anyone. But you really have to know what you want in life and just take the risk. And for us, we never looked back. Of course, nandun yung gratitude namin sa Singapore kasi sila yung nagbigay sa amin ng mga first class opportunities, friends and all. But we hate actually competing with our own friends. Yung nami-meet mo sa opisina, nagiging kaibigan mo na outside sa work. Kasi tayo lang naman ang magkakasama dyan eh. So parang sa DP, it's a very close-knit family. Hindi lang, ang turingan, hindi lang actually magkaka-opisina. Outside DP, mag-iinuman yan. May mga gatherings. And eventually, sila pa rin ang kasama. Pero I hate the feeling na kapag nasa opisina ka, kailangan mo makipag-compete with your own friends, with your colleagues. Kasi anytime, pwede nilang sabihin na, you're not good enough. Ano ka na, cancel na yung pass mo, alis ka na. So, you really have to think, ito ba yung vina-value ko in life? Ayoko ng competition eh. I'm not born to compete. Parang I'm born to live my life. I'm born to enjoy kung ano yung ino-offer ng life para sa akin. So, ngayon naman, na nandito kami sa Australia, we do not brag about kung anong meron, pero yung lifestyle na meron kami, it's not just about work. So, diyan, di ka nagdadrive ng sarili mong sasakyan. Pinangarap ko kaya yun, magdadrive ka ng sarili mong sasakyan, di ba? Natigisa kayong mag-asawa, ganyan, makukuha mo kung ano yung gusto mo. Ang dali dito niyan. Sa Singapore ba makakabili ka ng sasakyan kung hindi ka mayaman? Never, di ba? Dito, basta employed ka, ang dali mong magkaroon ng sasakyan. And ngayon, we're close to malapit na kaming makuha yung goal namin para makabili kami ng bahay in just 4 years time. And anytime, kasi fourth year na namin ng October 24. So when I checked like a month ago, we can lodge the application for citizenship anytime after October 24. So pagkatapos natin, pwede ko i-lodge ngayon. So ganun ka. After nun, it's just a waiting period for the
Now na.
So it's just a waiting period for you to become Australian citizen. But it pays other things na meron ka nito pero you're still far away from your family in the Philippines. Pero ginawa namin yung pag-move dito kasi we think na it will be better for us and for my daughter to have her future here. Hindi namin sinasabi na it's not good to be back in the Philippines, but sabi ko nga, very situational yung pag-move namin dito. It's about what you value in life. Parang every time na umuwi kami ng Pilipinas, napapagod ako sa traffic, napapagod ako sa parang nonsense issues na binabalita sa TV, and I don't want my child to be raised in a community like that. Although dun ako na-raised, pero hindi sa minamaliit mo ang Pilipinas. Nandun pa rin yung heart mo na gusto mo lagi umuwi and to give back sa Pilipinas kung anong meron and kung may matutulong ka sa pamilya mo, anytime tutulong ka. It's just that nasanay tayo sa lifestyle na meron sa Singapore and nag-move kami rito in a much more lesser parang may work-life balance, pero of course iniisip pa rin namin eventually na magre-retire kami sa Pilipinas, pero we just want to raise our child here and yun nga parang mabuhay muna kami dito, pero eventually we will still retire sa Pilipinas. So yun, importante ang pinaka-takeaway, ang pinaka-sasabihin ko sa mga tao na mag-move kung saan man kayo. I wouldn't go into detail like Architect Marlon. He already mentioned a lot of things. And kahit saang bansa ka, mai-apply mo yung sinabi ni Architect Marlon. Yun sa akin lang, it's very simple. Very simple lang. Be nice to everyone. Kahit saang bansa punta, kahit anong kultura ang pupuntahan mo, be nice. Be kind. Kasi eventually, sila yung makakasama mo, sila yung makakasalamuha mo. They will give you the network that you need, and it pays to it. Parang there's always tawag dyan? There's always parang a reward being nice to other people. Especially makikisama ka kung nasaan ka. Maski naman sa Pilipinas, pag umuwi ka, kailangan maging mabait ka pa rin. Baka patayin ka, baka i-murder ka. Dito kailangan mong maging mabait kasi nasa ibang bansa ka na, mapuputi sila. So, kasi hindi ka matangkad, hindi ka maputi. Hindi, lang, lighter note lang yan. So, yun lang, be nice, be kind, and be nice to everyone.
Yes. Okay, thank you, Architect Hazel, for reminding us to be nice to everyone. Okay, maybe for a brief, short also for the encouragement, Architect John?
Okay, yung sa akin, masasabi ko lang is, ang hirap na dugtungan yung mga sinabi ni Marlon tsaka ni Hazel kasi masyadong totoo, masyadong marami. Ang masasabi ko is, first of all, Pilipino tayo. So, pag Filipino ka kasi, you can survive anywhere. Kasi all forms of adversity nasa Pilipinas na eh. Yung safety, yung pollution, lahat. Pero despite of it all, lahat tayo in a way, to a certain extent, successful kasi kahit nasa Singapore ka, Indonesia, or saan. Ang layo na narating mo physically mula kung saan ka nanggaling sa Pilipinas. So yung pa lang nun, isabihin, meron ka in yourself na attitude na you can thrive anywhere, kahit saan ka mapunta. Okay? So, you on that part, ang dala mo is yung pagka-Pilipino mo na kahit saan, kaya mo. Ngayon, yung moving sa next life, ako mismo masasabi ko na sa mga anak ko na when they reach working age, I want them to experience still working in Singapore kasi, or even New York or London. Kasi parang you are competing globally. Alam mo yun? Totoo, competition, competence, you have to arm yourself with all kinds of life skills to thrive. Pero there will come a time in your life na masasabi mo na there are bigger things, sabi nga ni Architect Hazel, than money, than career. Pag nasa Singapore ka, you would die kung ano yung designation mo sa name card mo eh. Parang you want to flash it all over. This is my designation. Ito yung mga acronym after my name. Ito yung mga degrees, ito yung mga courses na kinuha ko. That is who you are pag nasa Singapore. Pero there will come a time in your life na, sandali, yung designation mo, yung acronym, hindi naman yun yung pinapakain mo sa anak mo. Hindi naman yun yung ini-spread mo sa family members mo. Darating ka sa point na, okay, gusto mo gigising ka na, oh, Saturday, what? 9:30 si Matthew may football game sa ganitong bayan. O tomorrow may rugby training naman. O yung ang nagmo-motivate sa iyo is yung family mo na eh. Alam mo 'yon? Dito surprisingly, I mean, nag-work ako sa Singapore, you talk with your colleagues, ang kwentuhan is nagpasyal ako dito, nag-shopping ako rito, bumili ko ng ganito, ganyan. Dito, surprisingly, I was even conversing with my big boss, one of the owner of the firm, previous practice. What we were conversing about is how he went up the housing ladder. You know, the joys of renovating your own house. And I experienced that kasi we bought our house last year, 1 year, exactly 1 year from now. Then, doon ako natuto ako maging tubero, maging pintor. Alam mo yun, may nag-burst na pipe, I had to fix it myself. Natuto ako magtanim sa likod, mag-gardening. Then marirealize mo na there are bigger sources of happiness. Na di ba naman i-let go yung career mo kasi at the end of the day, that's what feed you. Pero that enables you to buy the happiness. Pero hindi yun yung happiness eh. Ang happiness is you're spending time with your family. Ang biggest realization namin dito, yung isang anak namin, gusto namin si Marcus, he's speech delayed. Because of that, yung school, nirevolve nila yung school around my son at no cost to us. So, ang napag-uusapan namin ni Mona, so even in Singapore, they would not do that for a single student. They would not revolve yung curriculum, they would not assign a special teacher, they would not revolve yung classroom just for your individual son. Ganon sila ka-nurturing dito. And then, yung para bang yung social principle ba na there are rich, there are poor, pero when it comes to school, they almost never talk about money. Ganon din sa office. So parang, you're working, you have to be nice, sabi nga ni Architect Hazel, pero walang payabangan. And dito, ang isang kapupulutan ko rito is very important sa kanila is, most important sa mga Briton is reputation and mannerism. Yun yung in a way, para kabaliktaran sa Singapore. Sa Singapore, when you're chairing a meeting, when you're attending a meeting, you can say the most vulgar words to get the things done. Okay? You can be a slave driver as long as ma-produce yung drawing. Kapag may problema sa site, maraming VO. Kung kinakailangan mo mag-fire, kung kinakailangan mo magmura, do it. Dito, sa kanila, those are secondary. The most important thing is how you conduct yourself. Alam mo, small things, writing an email. Sa Singapore tayo, very blunt tayo magsulat ng email. Dito, hindi. There's an art of conveying your message. There is an art of urging a person to follow the line. So, ganun sila prim and proper. So, dito, alam mo yung pinoportray nila yung British sensibilities, masyado silang strict sa mannerism. So, ang na-realize namin, well, that's good. That's good for our son. That's good for our family na parang hindi lang makuha mo yung apple, kundi how you get the apple. I mean, with all the decorum, with all the mannerism in life. So, having said that, sorry for kung mahaba yung airtime na yun. At this point, ang gusto ko sanang i-plug is Brexit is a blessing in disguise for Filipinos. After Brexit, the UK, which has for a long time looked only within EU for foreign architects, now they're going to open the pool globally, and that includes Filipinos. So ang marketing pitch ko is Dorots, Maan, pwede na rin kayo lumipat dito. Okay?
Sa kabila. Sige,
Kasi
sige.
very settled na yung dalawa eh. At saka yung lahat na nakikinig sa atin. Now, there is a pathway, naglabas na ng policy ang RIBA for us. And sorry, Mamaan, kung pwede ko lang po i-share, mabilisan lang yung slides ko.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Apo.
Sure.
And what I'm going to be talking about is a pathway. Ako mismo hindi pa ako tapos doon. It's a pathway for us. So that is my belief. We are a global talent. Very resilient tayo. Next slide. Ito, to be fair, ito ang sahod sa UK. It's not as big as Singapore. It's not as big as Sydney. Maybe some part of Australia is at par. Pero masasabi ko rin, living in UK is way cheaper than Sydney, way cheaper than Singapore.
Really? For the lifestyle?
Yes, even buying a house. I think baka prices of car comparable sa Australia, pero house definitely mas mura ang houses dito kasi yung two sisters-in-law ko bumili ng bahay sa Sydney, bumili ng bahay sa Perth, nagmukha kaming they spent twice. Okay? So
Wow.
so UK is way cheaper, pero these are the salary sa UK. Now, for a Filipino na nag-work sa Singapore considerably, I could entice you to expect a salary somewhere in between Part 3 and Senior Architect. Okay? Kasi yan yung pinagdaanan ko eh. Kasi luckily dahil galing ako sa Singapore, they recognize my experience and they were able to offer me that level of salary. Next. Yeah, cost of living. Well, aside sa London, kasi London is mahal, pero UK is a story of two countries. You have London and you have the rest of UK. So if you can live outside of London, do it because you can always work in London, even with living outside. For almost 2 years, I was doing a project, a hospital in London. I was taking the train from Warrington. In less than 2 hours, nasa London na ako because of a bullet train. You can do it. Okay, next slide. Yan, ito, cities to work and live. So, yeah, number 1, pa rin, syempre London. Pero there are so many choices. You have Manchester, Liverpool, Newcastle, Bristol, Edinburgh, Birmingham. These are big cities that can offer you a better comfort rather than London. London for me is overrated, especially for a family guy. Live outside a big city, and then these are the list of big firms. Next. And ito, kaya ako fini-feature ito kasi even for us, Filipino UAP architect, we have a pathway to any of these 4. Pwede ka maging RIBA architect, pwede ka maging architectural technologies, pwede ka maging town planner, at saka pwede ka maging surveyor, that is RICS. And lahat yan may pathways even for Filipinos. Okay? We just have, ako mismo, nandun pa ako sa path na yon. I am a Part 3 candidate currently. Pero may pathway tayo dyan. And then, mag-share ko about that. Next. So, ito yung pathway to become an architect. Sa atin sa Philippines, you study 5 years, you do work experience, you do exam, you're an architect. Dito, before mag-junior college ka, parang Singapore, may JC or may poly. Pagpasok mo sa uni, you do part 1 course, that's 3 years of Archi. Then you have a year out for 1 year, you work in a firm. Then you study again for about 2 years, and that part 2 course, 2 years, that will already arm you with a master's degree. Then you work again, and then you do your part 3 exam. So next. So yung standard CV, that's part of the submission. The reason why I have this kasi ako nasa process ako for submitting to become an RIBA. Yung CV na yan, quick ano lang dyan is yung left side, those are education, right side are experience, and then purple color symbolizes my client role. Nasa client side ako. Blue role, nasa architectural consultancy. Next. Then part of which you'll be asked to make an educational experience. Architectural and educational experience. Ito yung sa akin. So kasama sa isa-submit mo, you have to tell them how long have you worked, basically your life's work story. Next. And then here, this is very relevant to us, all architects. Sa Philippines, when we were doing our diversified logbook, meron dong, I don't know, I think mas alam ni Marlon to because he's doing mentorship right now. Pero there are different categories that a mentee should experience before sitting for exam. Diba? Although sa Philippines, I don't know, ilan sa atin yung makakapagtaas ng kamay na masasabing, yes, lahat yun ginawa ko before I took my exam. Ilan lang. Hindi, dito, titingnan nila yung logbook mo talaga. The way they make you pass or fail the exam is only 1/3 of the component. One is the exam, the other one is a case study, number 3 is the logbook. Kahit na pasado ka sa dalawa, kung yung logbook mo, let's say, nasa early stage ka lang, hindi ka nila ipapasa. Kung nasa huli ka lang, hindi ka nila ipapasa. Kasi sa kanila, ang belief nila to be an architect is not just the ability to design. It's not just the ability to manage project. Pero ito yung tumatak sa akin. Sinabi sa akin ng colleague ko. Here to be an architect means for you to be able to guard the practice of architecture against litigation. Yun yung keyword, litigation. So, pag nasunog, dapat alam mo, depensan. Bakit? Kasi you were able to comply with all the regulation, you were able to comply with all the consultation with the relevant councils, with the relevant processes. You were able to comply with all the discussion of materials with the suppliers, even overlooking its construction. So, ganun sila mag-isip dito. Kapag ang building pwedeng kahit na nagawa na, kapag hindi sumunod sa ganitong policy, may power silang ipa-demolish. So, yun ang tinitingnan nila. So, next slide. So, that is me. Again, color-coded. These are in the past. You can't amend them. You can only move forward. So, this alone will tell everyone kung saan ako nagkukulang. Kung anong experiences ko pa na dapat na i-gain in order to hopefully one day become an architect. So next slide. So this is an example of a case study. So sinabi ko na yung logbook. This will be your case study, which is one of the third. So the case study, kailangan you have to prove to the board na you have been involved in a particular project. Sinabi nga ni Ma'am Hazel kanina, mula yung bidding hanggang sa magawa yung project na nakita mo yun. It doesn't have to be na ikaw yung architect doon, pero that you have experienced all those stages. You have to have a case study. Okay, next. And benefits of living, working sa UK. So, I think marami naman dyan. Marami din sa ibang bansa. So, pero ang Singapore is not a welfare state. Australia is, UK is a welfare state. So here sa UK, kapag wala ka mahanap na trabaho, bibigyan ka allowance. If you don't have any food, they'll give you food. If you don't have any house, they'll give you a house. Alam mo yun, they will not let you rot sa street. Ganun. And then, first-hand kami sa family, ang experience namin is really the support that they're giving to our child sa learning. Very robust and sa healthcare. Ganun.
Okay.
The next. So, again, these are just the benefits. So, I think that's the last slide. Yun lang masasabi ko talaga. So, there is a life after Singapore. You have to pursue it. It's not for everyone to move out of Singapore. it depends on your own personal situation.
Yes.
Diba? Yun lang.
Yeah. Okay,
Thank you so
wow.
much.
Very
Ayan. Salamat po
busog sa information, and it's very helpful for us. Okay, so okay, we're almost in our end of our conversation for today. So maybe we have last two questions. So we all know that in the Philippines, we're in the connected with UAP Philippines, right? So now for UAP Singapore, we are also supporting the UAP WAD, which is the World Architecture Day. So for this year, team we are having a team for a better urban future. So as an architect as an individual, with your current locations now, like Sir Marlon in the Philippines, Ma'am Hazel in Australia, Sir John in UK. So how will, and with the current pandemic conditions, so that we all know that we have now a COVID, right, situation all over the world. So how do you think you can help, or our possible contribution as an architect to our community, which you are now located with a better urban environment? So maybe you can share us maybe 2 to 3 possible steps that you can share with us. Okay, maybe we call on maybe from Architect John first.
Okay, thank you. Ako naman, I'm very fortunate na nasa healthcare industry ako. So, very much relevant kami sa COVID. So, when COVID started in March, yung office namin, we became very busy. We were asked to look at fastly developing conversion of existing healthcare facilities for COVID. They call it nationally as Nightingale wards. And maswerte ako na nakita ko steps to how to develop Nightingale wards. Pero in relevant to that question, number one, as an architect, we are charged in developing buildings. So alam naman natin, COVID, I mean, now we know much more about COVID than before. So we know how to design spaces. Simple things. If you can allow kahit na anong use ng building niyan, okay? If you can allow a one-way traffic, do it. Kahit na bahay, restaurant, shopping mall, sinihan, gawin mo lang yung one-way system of traffic. Malaking bagay na yun.
Yeah, social distancing.
And that is before the distancing. Kasi yung one way of traffic, you get better control of foot traffic. So, again, that is very architectural. Kahit na anong type of building, I'm not even talking about in hospital. Although we're doing that in hospital, one-way traffic. Okay? Kasi it clearly allows you to plan and separate clean and dirty spaces. Diba? Segregation. And then, yung urban, going back to urban, you talk about COVID and urban, you talk about social distancing. Nalaman natin when it hit hard, all of us, we got locked inside our house. Ang naging best value for money is access to an open space. Alam mo, access to an open space. Kasi hindi lang siya physiological need, but it's a mental need na hindi ka nakakulong. Okay? I am fortunate na nakatira ako near the countryside. So even the hardest of the hardest lockdown in the UK, we are allowed for one activity a day to move about outside your house, maglakad. So yun pa lang, with that single exercise alone, it superimpose yung importance ng public spaces sa Philippines. Sa Philippines, urban, access to public space, ano kasunod nun? Let's not think about ng palakihan ng bahay, ng pagandahan ng bahay. Kung ang street mo, pangit. Okay? Sa Pilipinas, ang gaganda ng bakura natin, pataasan ng walls, paglabas mo sa kalsada, ang pangit. Malalaman mo during lockdown, mababaliw ka sa loob ng bahay mo. Gusto mo lumabas. So, baliktarin mo yung mindset. You can live in the smallest of rooms, but if you have ample supplies of public space that you can schedule kung kailan nyo i-enjoy yun, mas maganda. So that is the clear policy shift that I envision, I wish. It's a wish list that we could do. Yun lang.
Okay. Thank you so much, Architect JM. Clap, clap, clap. Next,
Thank you.
Architect Marlon.
Ayan. So, well,
Onion.
yes, siguro I'll also talk about architecturally and urban side. So, being an architect, no, we've been starting to apply design modifications for example, even in the small residential design, parang bago mo, let's say yung sinabi ni Marvin na one way, no? So parang actually hindi mo pwedeng gawin sa bahay yung one way, no? Parang medyo off yun. Pero the thing is that we learn that before you come into a house, you must have a space for sanitizing. So parang yun yung natin, yun yung ini-implement natin sa mga bahay ngayon na before you come in, there's a space for actually a powder room for you to wash or to sanitize the house, for you to sanitize. Andun yung mga space mo for the shoes mo, naiiwan mo doon for you to not to contaminate the interior space of the house. So parang even in a small way as an architect, yun yung ginagawa natin to help our clients to have a safe and livable COVID-free a house, no. So urban-wise, no, actually we've been in Singapore, no, we've been equipped with this mental state na gusto natin yung open spaces, no, like what Marvin mentioned na actually yung nakakamiss sa nung nandito na kami is that there's no more space, parang hindi nila masyadong pina-prioritize yung mga open space. Actually now, is quite recently because of this pandemic na nare-realize ng mga local governments na kailangan natin ng mga spaces na ganito. So actually we've been lucky to be consulted by some of the LGUs here in the Philippines na sabi nila, "Uy, Marlon, di ba nagaling ka Singapore? So maybe you can give us an idea kung how would Singapore do it, no? Pagka syempre ganito, for example sa Philippines, maybe you would all know na because of the pandemic naging bicycle country na naman ng Pilipinas. Alam mo, lahat nagbabike talaga eh. So sabi namin, we've been consulted, sabi, sa tingin mo ba pwede pa tayo maging bicycle, pwede pa magkaroon ng bicycle lane sa mga So actually it's quite difficult, no, kasi sabi ko it will entail a lot of widening yung road, give a space for bicycle lane, but then there's a room for improvement sa city and sa mga municipalities that yun pwedeng ma-implement ito, but then it in the Philippines kailangan ng political will to do it. So what we can do now is to give advice to these respective LGUs na how they do it in other countries, no, na mabigyan ng space yung mga open spaces na kinakailangan. Sabi ko nga, I had a study before in one of the cities here in La Union, San Fernando, na they only have about, in a open space area ratio, dapat meron tayong 15 square meters of green per person, no. Nung na-research ko yung isang area dito sa atin sa La Union, they only have about 3 square meter per sabi ko, ang baba, di ba? So how can we improve it? So yung mga ibang properties you need to probably the government should purchase it para ma-convert into parks and those things, no. Kasi I know sa Pilipinas here kung hindi niyo siguro ma-feel, but we are feeling it. A lot of progress is coming in, no. Build nga sabi nga ni Duterte, no. So what you can see now is a lot of infrastructure projects, a lot of building projects, no. Ang nangyayari sa atin is what will happen is parang pumapasok tayo sa parang not industrial revolution, parang talagang infrastructure revolution, parang ang dami. Tapos it's uncontrollable minsan, no? Parang yung zoning dito labo-labo na, hindi na susunod yung zoning dito sa Pilipinas. It's up to the it's up to the politicians kasi kung anong balak gawin doon sa area na ano no. For example, yung mga area for farming, wala na, nako-convert na for industrial. And alam niyo naman na nahihirapan na tayo yung mga farmers dito for area for farming, wala na. So yun, nagkakaroon ng dialogue between now sa mga agencies tsaka sa with the agriculture, tapos yung sa NEDA for example, na nagkakaroon na ng parang talks about anong pwedeng what will be the effect of this progress, no? Parang nawawala, nadi-displace na yung mga farmers. So yun, sometimes yung mga organization natin like UAP and in my case PIA, we've been consulted by this organizations, by these agencies na tayo, how can we what is our voice, no? Ano yung pwede nating may advice sa kanila. So yung part natin sa tingin ko is a very good experience na galing tayo sa beautifully planned green city of Singapore, no. So nabibigay natin yung ganitong mga advices. And I think it would be helpful sa lahat dito sa Pilipinas, no, pagka lahat tayo nagtulong-tulong na magbigay ng proposal how to make our environment, our urban setting na ma-convert pa as much as possible into a livable city, livable municipalities. So yun, I invite everybody na sana kung meron tayong time, I will tap one of you guys na yun to share their expertise dito sa help na parang giving back din naman sa atin, paying back sa Pilipinas.
Okay. Yes. So everyone is welcome, Architect Marlon.
Sali ako.
Sali kami dyan. Join kami, join.
Yes.
Okay, so for the last is Architect Hazel. So in Australia, what do you think will be the possible steps we can share?
Actually, parang na-mention na lahat nila, Architect JM and Architect Marlon na. Pero siguro sa akin as architects, parang it's in our nature to create. Lagi magbi-build ka ng something. And for this crisis nga about COVID, opportunities come in. Like, it can offer opportunity rin sa iba. So, surprisingly, may iba tayong parang solutions. Depende kung nasaan tayo. Like, kung ano yung mga sinabi nila. It may not be applicable for us here. Singapore and Philippines, medyo similar. Kasi because of the living situations. Singapore, you live on top of each other. So medyo mahirap kontrolin yung COVID. Sa Philippines naman, katabing bahay mo lang. Katabing dingding mo lang ay yung katabing bakod yung isang bahay na. So very close, very yung population natin. Dito naman sa Australia, kabaliktaran. Sabi nga nila mas maraming kangaroos dito kasi sa tao. So, fortunate din namin dito kasi we don't have any cases since May dito sa Canberra. So, I'm just speaking about my state kung nasaan ako. Different yan sa Melbourne, sa Sydney and all. Kami yung pinakawalang case. I think malaking factor is because nandito yung government. Yung mga tao, sumusunod talaga sila and yung disiplina. Sa Pilipinas, maganda sana yung mga ginagawa pero one of the factors is, at saka yung tanong is, sinusunod ba? And gaano ka-stricto ba susunod yun? Dito naman, na-experience namin yung, of course, nag-lockdown din naman kami. Pero, Dan was working like for the straight 5 months. I from March, and then he just recently returned to work few weeks ago. So kasi medyo marami sila sa company. Sa amin naman is I had to return to work just within a month, after a month of working from home. So, na-experience ko naman doon is, of course, sa umaga, pag magda-drive ka papuntang work, maraming sasakyan. So, ang sarap mag-drive. Parang na-enjoy mo talaga na less pollution, di ba sabi nga nila, mas marami ring parang naging advantage itong COVID na 'to, gumanda yung hangin, parang gano'n. Sa amin gano'n din yung naging sitwasyon. Pero, hindi ako maka-relate dun sa yung mga, ginagawa for urban, yung mga bini-build kasi walang bini-build dito sa amin. So, wala, eh, parang
Soon.
lalabas kami walang mask. Meron kang makikitang mga, parang hand sanitation along sa malls, pero we don't go out with masks anymore. So, medyo kampante na kami since matagal na kaming walang cases. Pero I think, one of the solutions na puwede kong mai-share is instead of building, building additional structures, we can go into, parang less pollutants, kung ano yung makaka-generate parang, wasteful ba, less waste sa construction. So instead, maybe, wala na talaga kasi akong maisip, pero naisip ko na lang is instead of building, why not reuse yung mga buildings kasi merong mga abandoned buildings. And of course, with pandemic, nandun yung urgency na kailangan mo mag-build, eh. Kailangan mo mag-build ng medical facilities and kailangan mo i-revamp yung mga standardization. So, instead dito, since may urgency nga, why not make use yung mga abandoned buildings, parks were turned into hospitals. Yun lang. Wala na akong ma-share. Sorry.
It's like adaptation, like
Adaptive reuse.
Yeah.
And siguro parang we can think of parang ano ba yung mga standards na susunod. Kasi pwedeng ma-integrate na into design yung mga sanitation, which is more practical nowadays. And yung work ko actually ngayon is I'm into interior architecture. So most na ginagawa namin is government buildings, government fit outs. So what we saw na naging trend ngayon is yun nga yung per square meter was increased. So instead of very closed, and yung workstations lumaki, nagkaroon ng privacy screen. Yung privacy screen before yung it's yung height tumaas, ganun. And na-integrate na sa design yung mga touchless ba. Parang kukuha ka ng water, di mo na kailangan mag-touch ng anything, pati yung access into buildings, face ID na siya. So those kind of things can be integrated, but not necessarily building new buildings. Parang to cater for ano to. Kasi parang the question is, gaano ba katagal maglalast tong pandemic na to? It can be few months na lang or parang nandun pa ba yung urgency na mag-build tayo as architects. So sabi ko nga kanina, we are not, parang it's very nature for us to create, pero we're also problem solvers. So instead of creating, we can think of other ways para maiwasan yung ganito in case na magkaroon ulit ng pandemic.
Tama.
Okay, yes,
Thank
correct.
you.
Okay, thank you, Architect Hazel, for sharing your situation there in Australia. Okay, so we're almost an end. It's we're talking around 2 hours and 48 minutes now. So to lighten up the mood, so let's have a game, a small game for us. So we prepare. You know yung fast talk, guys, right? I mean, mga nasa Pilipinas, kay Boy Abunda. So merong I'll be siguro naman alam niyo yung fast talk. So everyone knows about this. So I'll be saying two words, then you will choose. So without explanation. So you just fast talk. So maybe the sequence will be Architect Hazel, John Marvin, and Architect Marlon. So that's the sequence. So okay, so let's start. Okay, first question. Singapore or current location?
Sorry, what's that again?
Singapore or current location?
Current location.
Current location.
Location now.
Okay, next. Wood construction or concrete construction?
Concrete.
Wood.
Concrete.
Chili crab or cereal prawn?
Wala, pareho ako may allergies dyan.
Cereal prawn.
Okay, design or
Cereal
build?
prawn.
Design.
Design.
Sentosa or
Design.
Marina Bay?
Marina
Pasta?
Bay.
Sentosa.
Marina Bay.
Coffee O or coffee te?
I don't
Copy din.
Coffee cow.
Coffee seed.
Oh, next. Starhub or Singtel?
Starhub.
Intel.
Starhub.
Samsung or iPhone?
iPhone.
iPhone.
Samsung.
Samsung. From Gary or Zaha Hadid?
Frank Gehry.
Hungary.
Frank Gehry.
And last, AutoCAD or Revit?
Revit.
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 Okay, that's
Thank you so much.
thank you so much guys for participating.
Okay.
Thank you for inviting us.
Thank you for
Pero
having us here.
wait first. Sorry si Sir Noni, hindi talaga siya maka-connect sa internet. So, he said he's very sorry and he was looking forward nga sana for this
Yes.
event. Kaso, mahirap talaga yung internet connection niya eh. So, ayun. So, meron pa ba kayong mga last words? Mga ano?
Sorry
from the audience?
for all
Ay,
the audiences na may mga questions. So, sorry we don't have enough time. So, you can email sa UAP na lang, UAP email, then we will try to share to our guest today, then they will answer back. So,
Or they
na lang.
can
So, sorry.
comment sa FB page yung kung saan nakapost yung show.
And
And
then
then-
we'll reply back.
Oh,
Yeah.
then we reply na
We'll
lang.
reply back sa mga comments.
We will reply.
Time.
I hope na sana marami pang pumunta dito sa UK.
Okay, sir. Surely we will go there to visit you.
Marami pa
And see you, Hazel. Kung pwede na mag-travel.
Oo.
Come,
Okay.
live and work here.
Yes.
Oy, meron tayo. Maraming salamat sa ating mga viewers, sa lahat ng mga sumuporta, sa mga former officers. Yan, na laging nandiyan dyan. For all
So,
those
shout out to
friends, families,
To
shout
Sir
out
Rafi,
natin.
good job architecture.
Oo.
Ang dami daw niyang naisip kung Australia ba siya o mag-UK o mag-Pilipinas.
Magdadabaw.
Davao.
Actually ako, medyo napaisip din ako eh. Okay, so
Yun.
I think our president is here. So Architect
Oo.
Maan.
Pero ano pa eh, wala pa yung kanyang camera.
Yan.
Ayan na.
Hi, Sir Mark.
Okay, let's
Hello.
all welcome our
Hello, Press.
president.
Good evening.
UAPS
Sorry,
president.
nandito kasi ako sa Clarkie, so wala akong lugar.
Gimmick.
Hindi na, nag-overtime po. Nag-overtime lang po. Anyway, thank you nga po pala sa sa mga naging speaker namin to past President Marvin, kay incoming Charter President ng Australia, si Hazel, kay Architect Dorothy ng Indonesia, and kay Architect Marlon. Sir, thank you. And kay Sir Noni, thank you din. Hindi mo kami pinuntahan. Hindi, joke lang.
May utang pa siya.
May problema sa connection eh.
Ayun. So, ayun, siguro naman nakapag share kayo ng mga powerful messages while you're doing driving, yung nagamit yung mga bagay sa Singapore na nadala nyo dyan sa sa abroad, and ayun, nakakatuwa lang isipin na nakakapag-drive kayo outside Singapore, and ayun, nakapag-work kasi sa mga international firm, then nag-share ba kayo sa mga community natin. So yun, so sana gayahin din kayo ng mga ibang mga aspiring and mga current architects na Filipinos. So yun.
Yun.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. President, for also...
Isa na lang, thank you nga pala sa sa chairman natin ng World Architecture Day, si Architect Maan, for doing
You did it,
Maraming
girl.
salamat din sa mga tao behind this show,
Ay,
sa ating
oo nga pala.
mga UAPs, directors, officers who help, lalo-lalo na yung mga mentors about the StreamYard and sa mga posters
Thank
and
you
all.
kay-
Maraming salamat.
Thank you kay Gaylord, kay Aldwin, kay Jeff.
Jeffrey.
Yun. Yes, kay Jeffrey. So yun.
Okay.
Okay, so it will be the end of our webinar, of our session. So again, thank you so much for all the guests, for all the audiences that shared their time today. So again,
Thank you for imparting all your
Yes.
knowledge, all your experiences to us.
Yes. Okay, so the last quote, there's really life beyond Singapore, guys. Okay,
No.
so everyone, thank you so much. Good afternoon, good evening, good morning. Okay, so see you
Bye-bye.
next time. Bye.
Bye.
Yeah, bye.
Bye-bye.